All right, Terry Bennett, now joined by my sideline to sideline co-host Grant Goodwin. And before we get into the game, let's kind of just talk this whole week as for 2A, 3A, and 4A. You know, last year it was kind of I don't want to say it was a humdrum, but there wasn't a lot of exciting matchups. This year, I feel it's exactly the opposite. I feel like almost every game you can at least make a case for both teams, and at least every class has at least one game that will probably be a one possession game.
Yeah, I think all the teams here in 2A are so physical, right? So I think the physicality is going to say something. There's also a lot of athleticism in the skill position areas on the in these teams. So yeah, I think these games are going to be very close.
When you look at the 2024 season, and I've always, and you and I've talked about this before many times on the air and off the air, you know, you have the season and then you have the playoffs and state championship, and state championship's kind of detached from the rest of everything. So just looking at the totality of the season, what is your overriding thoughts for 2A through 4A for 2024?
Um, I think the favorites did pretty well. A lot of times, the favorites are knocked out early in the playoffs. Some of them don't even make the playoffs. So I think we had pretty even seeding throughout the year, right? You had some teams that maybe weren't as good as what you thought they were. You had some teams like saying two a Sunray. We kind of expected Sunray to be there, and they're not. Post knocked them off, and then a very good Stanford team came up and knocked off Post. So there were teams like that, right? But not a lot of them. Carthage is there. We expected them to be there. Columbus is there in 4A. We expected them to be there. Malakoff is there. We expected them to be there.
Munster.
Yeah, well, Munster to me was a region to semifinal favorite. I was still, they were so young last year. They're
Yeah.
still young this year. I wasn't 100% sure that they would actually make it all the way to Arlington with the youth that they had. But here they are. Now they get to play a very talented Shiner team who's very physical. And that was a Shiner team as well, though, that was very young, that we thought was a semifinal type team that we weren't sure that would be there. And here they both are. So, yeah.
I think for 2A through 4A, and honestly for all of the high school state championship playoffs, it's weird because it's a year of transition. Because like in 4A, we're getting new state champions no matter what. In fact, we've got four teams that didn't play for the state championship last year, but these aren't new names. I mean, it's Salina, it's Kilgore, it's Carthage, and La Vega. In 3A, you've got Malakoff, Columbus, and Gunter. They've all been there. I mean, Malakoff and Gunter's both been there, but Columbus, first time. Woodville, first time. Munster has been there, but it's been since, 2017. Shiner's been there, but it's been, since 2021. And the same thing, Ganado, their first time. Stanford's an old hat, but it's been, 10 years since they've been there. So it's weird. It's like a transitional year, but it's just transitioning back to old powers. It's not like outside of, again, like Columbus and Woodville, it's nobody new that's in the state championship games.
But yeah, you don't have Anthony versus, I don't know, Huntington, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not that bad, but we do have new blood, right? And if you want to extend this, let's go into 6A and 5A. 6A, the traditional powers, as in North Shore and Duncanville, they're out, right?
Yep.
In 5A, Alito's out. So, it's a lot of that, and I think that's good for the sport, though. I think that's good for our game and our brand in Texas high school football. When you have the traditional powers, sometimes not make it, and you got some new blood, like Richmond and Randall or whatever it is, right? And
Yeah.
5A. So I like it, man. I like all the matchups that we're going to see this state championship weekend.
What do you think will, between 2A and 4A, what do you think will be the best game?
Well, the elephant in the room right now, and I think everybody will agree, is Columbus and Malakoff.
Yep.
That right there is going to be it's going to be a war, right? You got the athleticism of Columbus and Adam Schobel at quarterback and Grayson Rigdon at running back, who has been unstoppable. We've seen him for the last 2 weeks just carrying the load for Columbus at times. And then the pure physicalness of Malakoff with Mike Jones and that Malakoff defense. I think that will be one of the best games. And then I also think Salina Kilgore will be really good.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to say people are sleeping on Salina Kilgore, but everybody, including
that's going to be a darn good game.
And I think Malakoff and Columbus and Salina and Kilgore are going to be two of those games where it's going to be like two heavyweights that don't know how to dodge. They're just going to get in the middle of the ring and they're just going to start swinging. I think La Vega versus Carthage could actually be that way. And I'm not going to say that, I think La Vega is going to upset Carthage, but we do know, and I know it's all the way back early in the season, but we saw how Kilgore at times was very physical with Carthage, and La Vega with their running back, I think there can be just as physical. And I will say this, of course there's going to be a couple games that are blowouts, and the Carthage-La Vega one could be, but I do not think there's going to be many blowouts between 4A and 2A this year. I don't really think there's going to be a lot of blowouts through the state championship week at all.
Well, we think that. But it never ends up being that. Every year we sit here, right? The week of, and we have 50% of the games are blowouts for whatever reason, right? So I'm not going to take that out of the stock. I think that might happen, but you're going to have at least one game out of each division be close instead of two blowouts for every 3 games.
Be just an amazing state championship game. Whoa, what's going on?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, playoff 3, man, Merry Christmas, happy state championship week. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, but I'll tell you, the reason I just popped on here real quick is I realized you left me out of the conversation last week. I got no airtime last week.
I apologize. We actually got a couple messages on a couple of the message boards that, we're on and we promote the show, asking what happened to Playoff Tree and everything. And I just said that, you went to visit your saplings.
Well, you say that, and look, I think we all know what's kind of going on here. We all think the beef is between me and Coach X, but really, I think it's between you and I, Terry.
Wait, we don't have any beef. You sit in my studio 24/7. I keep you lit. I keep you happy. I keep Lazy Dog kettle corn around you. How could you be unhappy with me?
Well, that kettle corn's probably pretty good. It's hard for a tree to eat. I mean, how do you feed popcorn to a tree? But I digress. I think the problem is here, you found out a few secrets between you and I and your ex-wife.
Wait, which ex-wife and what secrets?
Your first ex-wife, right? Why are you laughing?
Yeah.
This is serious stuff. I think your daughter is probably my daughter.
Wait, what?
Let me play this out for you, Terry. So
Okay.
back when you were living in Rush, Texas, your daughter, your ex-wife contacted me on Facebook. Actually, it was MySpace back then.
It was
convinced me to come back from Woodville up to Russ to have a few drinks. I did. A few things happened, and boom. Let me ask you this, Terry. What's your oldest daughter's name?
Oh, my only daughter's name is Timber.
Right. Timber!
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So are you trying to tell me, because, to pull back the curtain, we're recording these and I'm recording with Coach X tomorrow. So you and Coach X, y'all have buried the hatchet. Y'all are perfectly fine now. Y'all are buddies. Y'all are going to have fun at the Christmas party Saturday night.
No, not necessarily. He's got a daughter coming up he didn't know about. They're going to name Cypress. And not the terrorist organization.
Oh, wait. Wow, dude. Well, hey, wait. Why I have you here? I know where you're rooting. Who you're rooting for this week, and you
Woodville
got to
all
be
the way.
exactly. How happy are you to see Woodville make it?
Oh, I am so happy, Terry. I played, I was a nose guard for a while there. I could find a jersey to fit me. We weren't very good, but man, nobody could run up front against us. Now, gap control was not my thing. I was just right over the center. Couldn't go left or right, but man, you want to go up. And I'll tell you, I'm trying to get Woodville, the you know, I'm trying to get them to let me go on to the charter bus with them up to Arlington. It's a long way from Woodville to Arlington. I didn't want to drive myself, mainly because, there's not a car tree, right? Uh,
Yeah, that's a good point.
so I'm trying to get in on the fan charter bus that the Booster Club is rented. And I still might have a chance. I said if 42 people back out, they can fit me in.
Well, I do want to point
There's
this
only
out.
been one person out of 42 back out. So I don't know, but maybe if I could get a GoFundMe and some people could put together like a lumber, when you're down in Lufkin, you see all the timber trucks. Maybe if they could rent one of those out for me, lay me up on top. I don't know if
So
I'd
you
sit
want
in the stadium, but
you want to go fund lumber site for
oh
you?
yeah, for sure. I got wood.com.
So wow. So we had a Woodville fan. You I was going to email us. We'd appreciate it if you don't have Playoff Tree on anymore. But we had a fan, Scott from Woodville, said, "Hey, we appreciate the support from Playoff Tree, but we do want to point out that we're partly named Woodville because we're known for cutting trees down and processing them. So does that worry you in any way? Do you feel like you're letting your other tree brethren down with your Christmas tree privilege that you have?"
No, not at all. That's the world and the tree world, right? Basically, only the strong survive. So they cut down basically the ones that are not genetically engineered and more like Terminator type, such as myself. I've been here a long time. I'm not going anywhere except for hopefully Arlington on what day is that? Thursday or Friday?
Yeah,
Thursday.
playoff trees don't really have a sense of time, do you?
My calendar, yeah, it's made out of wood and therefore it degrades over time and it degraded. So, yes.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us and happy state championship week and Merry Christmas to
Thank
you.
you. Go Woodville.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Playoff Tree. I hope you do have a Merry Christmas. All right. Let's go to one. And this is no disrespect to any of the other state championship games that I'm not saying this, but let's go to truly, in my opinion, one of the Titanic matchups, maybe one of those matchups that we're going to be talking about for years. Dave Campbell's every year, they kind of list their top 5 games of the state championship since they've been at AT&T. And I genuinely feel like this game could end up being one of those top 5 of all time. Malakoff 15-0 versus Columbus 14-1. Man, we have wanted this all year, and it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, finally. There were times where I thought maybe this wasn't going to happen, right? Malakoff got down to Paradise last week at a game we were at the Star. They fought back, they battled back, and they did it defensively, right? We hear about all the things that Malakoff does offensively with Mike Jones and company, and this defense just stepped up and salted that game away from them. Kind of wore Paradise down a little bit in the fourth quarter.
Well, and this is, we've said this all year when you're talking about the teams that win state championships and are
there's always one like this. So
yep, there's one
time in the playoffs,
and you've got to always be in control in that fourth quarter. and Paradise was getting there. You know, they were up 19-7, and this is no disrespect to Malakoff, but man, that interception, that was as much of a what in the OMG just happened play that you will see. But Malakoff, hey, you
quarterback threw an interception and hurt himself.
Yes,
at the same time. And
wow,
it's game over.
it was a bad interception.
Right, but that was Malakoff's one game. Every team that wins state championship has one game like that. Columbus hadn't had that game yet, Terry.
I mean, you could, I guess, if we want to go all the way back. Well, I would say if you want to go back to regular season, I guess we could say Hitchcock was that game. But you're right, in the playoffs. I mean,
no, in the playoffs, there's always one in the playoffs.
Columbus
you count it back.
Yeah, I was just saying.
I'm not saying that it's going to be Columbus's time this time, but I'm just saying there's always that one game every state champion can look back in the playoffs and say, "Man, we had to pull that one out of our aces," right?
Well, this is why, and I'll go ahead and start stating my case. I think Columbus is going to win, and here's why.
I do too. I agree with you up front on this.
All right. So here's why. Because when you look at what Malakoff and you know, we can talk about, man, they have their defense is absolutely amazing, holding opponents to 10 points a game. We've talked about, as much as Mike Jones, you also have a really good, underrated running back, in my opinion, in Jason Tennyson. But at the end of the day, Malakoff will win if Mike Jones has a good game. If Mike Jones doesn't have a good game, I don't see how Malakoff can win. For Columbus,
that's up to Columbus's defense.
Yes,
right.
But for Columbus, as great as Grayson Rigdon is, and as great as Adam Schobel is, one of them can have an off game, and then the other one can fill in for them and win. I just think Columbus is, well, I'll say it like we sat right there after watching Malakoff and Jefferson play a darn good game, and then we went and watched Honeygrove and Wascom, and we were just kind of talking all that. And I remember looking at you at the Honeygrove game, and I said, look, that Jefferson Malakoff game was amazing, but when I think about them and then think about Columbus, neither one of them are on the same level as Columbus. I mean, Columbus checks off all the marks. And now people will say, well, their defense gives up points, but A, look at who they've played, and B, like the Yoakum playoff game, Columbus was up 4 touchdowns, and then Yoakum threw in a couple late touchdowns to make that game a lot closer than it really was. I just think Columbus is way too deep of a team.
Well, I think both teams, I think Malakoff is on Columbus's level. There's no doubt about it. I think Columbus, Malakoff could win this football game.
Oh yeah,
I think got a lot of talent. I think they're both on the same level. I think where this thing gets separated here is Columbus has Grayson Rigdon, who you give him just half a tick on the edge, he's going to get that edge, and he's going to make a move to get 24 yards down the field more than what you had him. You might have had your hands on him on a 2-yard loss, and Grayson Rigdon is going to turn it into 20 yards.
No, I totally agree with that.
You have to shut down. Look, you have to shut down your Malakoff's defense. You have to shut down or at least limit Grayson Rigdon from doing what he's done all year. If you do that, then you have to open yourself up to Adam Schobel. Adam Schobel can sling the ball around the yard all day long. So, yes, I agree. Malakoff's defense is going to be stretched thin. They're going to have to keep everything in front of them. Now, you look at Columbus's defense against Tennyson and Mike Jones. The thing about Mike Jones, he will move the chains.
Oh, yeah.
3rd and 9, he's going to get 10. 3rd and 4, he's going to get 6. He's always going to find the chains, right? So Columbus is going to be tasked with stopping him. That's why this game is going to be so close, because Tennyson can hit the edges. He can run up the gut too, right between the tackles. But Mike Jones will gut you. And I expect this Columbus defense to get a heavy dose of Mike Jones. Heavier than what Malakoff has done all year. They're going to get a lot of Mike Jones. Mike Jones is going to be like that Argyle running back from several years ago, right? They went played for the Cowboys. All of a sudden,
yeah,
they had like 45, 50 carries, and at the end of the game, he basically collapsed. This is what Mike Jones is going to be. They're going to rely on their defense and Mike Jones to just pound it through there. And Mike Jones will be able to pound it through there. And it's what offense can keep up.
Nick Ralston.
Nick Ralston.
That's who it was. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you know, what I find fascinating about this game is you're going to have Grayson Rigdon going up against Parker Poteet, one of the best linebackers in the state for Malakoff. And then on the flip side, you're going to have Mike Jones and Tennyson going up against one of the other best linebackers in the state in John Schobel. And you and I, we have pointed him out all year long.
And he's been banged up, right?
He's banged up, but he's still been playing hard, and he's still been making plays. And, you know, I hate to use the old water boy, the famous line where Dan Fouts says, it's the last game. You can't leave nothing. You know, you got to do it all. I don't think anybody, unless they're torn ligaments or broken bones, everybody's going to look very, very healthy in this game because nobody on either one of these teams wants to miss this game.
Yeah, maybe the healthiest team wins, right?
And you know, and we were talking about that before we started recording. You know, Columbus went through their injury issues and they've lost offensive linemen, but that was so many weeks ago. They've been able to work in their younger linemen who have the talent. They just haven't had the snaps. Yeah. They've now had the snaps. Malakoff, a lot of their walking wounded has happened over the last few weeks. So again, how will they be able to I don't think it's really going to matter in these games. These two teams, you know, everybody's going to be sore on Friday, but I think this is a great game.
There's going to be a lot of ice baths the next day.
I honestly can't. I don't have a feel for this. It could be. I think Columbus wins, and I do think Columbus ends up winning by a couple scores. But I can't decide if this is going to be a higher scoring game or a lower scoring game.
I think it's going to be lower because I think both defenses are so good, and look, Mike Jones is that type of player that you cannot stop. Right?
Yeah.
The Columbus defense is not going to be able to stop him. Though he might not go for 20 yards a pop, he's going to move the chains every time. Grayson Rigdon's going to hit some big ones, but I think Malakoff's defense, for the most part, will keep him in front of them. And it's going to be a lot of third down and short and medium situations where each offense is having to earn those yards on third down. Whoever wins third down wins this game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I'm saying like a 35-28 type game. In this day in football, that's a low scoring game, right? And I think Columbus wins it, though.
I agree. And I could also see this being one of those games where it's like 14-14 going into the fourth quarter, and then both teams just start exploding. Because as we're talking about, these guys, they're going to play hard and all, but if you're hurt and you're banged up, eventually you kind of wear down, and these two coaching staffs are really good at finding the weaknesses. So I like the 35-28. I feel it's going to be around there, maybe 42-28, but it wouldn't shock me if it's 14-14, and then we just have a bunch of explosions, kind of like the Franklin Canadian game when Canadian won that classic where it was kind of low scoring, and then that fourth quarter, I think 21 points by both teams, and like that.
Yeah, and I want to say this, and I hate to say this. I hate to predict a game like this, but when you have a big game like this, how many times have you seen one team that with almost equal personnel, right, come out and turn the ball over 2 or 3 times when it matters? I feel like this is the game where one of these teams is going to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times, and it's going to hurt them, and that's why the other team wins. I hate to say that, but that's what always seems to happen.
Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie, and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. So like and subscribe and check us out. All right, Sarah Bennett back here on the state championship preview shows. We now are joined on this segment brought to you by Lazy Dog Kettle Corn, the venerable, the legend, I think in his own mind, Oregon's own Coach X. And Coach X, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. It's just been living up and down the North Coast, driving up and down the PC, whatever, H and PVD highway, there in California, and living the good life with the hippies and the cowboys. I finally understood what that song meant until this summer.
It definitely is VD Highway there in California. I'm still confused, knowing your, I don't want to say political leanings, in today's world. I don't want to get you canceled by 50% of our audience, but you're not going to be very hippie-ish with your beliefs, yet you end up in what might be hippie haven.
Yeah, it's true, man. You got to go to work is, though, dude. Like I interviewed with this girl, and she was like, I have 3 openings. And I was like, yes, I know. I'm here to fill them. And then she made me leave. And I really think you overestimate our audience. I really think my political beliefs, these things I believe, would not alienate 50% of our listening audience.
No,
I don't think we rank high with the hippies in Texas, and I don't think the hippies watch football. They're killing football, like with taking cut blocks and hard hits out of the game. Those are what the hippies are doing.
Well, to be fair, I say that, I don't want our stuff to get up on, well, I guess not X anymore since Elon owns it, but I don't want anybody pearl clutching about when they hear about you going for 3 holes and such.
You got to go for all 3. That's what they got. That's what you got to do. There's 3 possibilities. If you just get 1, you're doing good. If you get 2, that's awesome. If you get 3, then you marry them.
Well, if you get really crazy, you can go for 5 or 6.
I don't want to get into your personal life at any means, but stuff. Maybe your stuff fits in ears and noses, but not me.
Anyway, so we had Playoff Tree on, and Playoff Tree claims that y'all have made a truce and that y'all are buddies again. And in fact, he wants to hug you during the Christmas party that L4 Media is having this Saturday. But before I accept that, I want to hear it from you. Are y'all friends again?
Hell no, screw that guy. All right, he runs his mouth, and he wants to say apologize and freaking sap and crap and sad and timber and pine straw. No, not even close, man. That man, in fact, I'm starting another burn pile at my house, and I'm looking to pick up a playoff tree to put on top of the burn pile, because that will go up really fast and help me out with some yard clippings and various things in my neighborhood. So yeah, playoff tree, dude, don't be lying. I hate you. I always have, and I always will. And you really do. I don't understand you. So I don't even know how you can say. Maybe you did say let's make up, and I didn't understand his freaking bass voice, and I was just like, yeah, cool, man, whatever, yeah, let's do that. So maybe that happened, like the low talker on Seinfeld when Jerry had to wear the puffy shirt. Maybe that's what I agreed to, but no, I hate playoff tree, and I always will.
I don't have the heart to tell the tree. He talks about his upbringing down in the Angelina County and the big thicket and all, and I don't have the heart to tell him, like, dude, you're not a real tree. Like, you're plastic. You're as plastic as the boob jobs were in the 80s. I don't think he understands that. I think he thinks he's a real tree.
No, he's as much of a tree as Jamie Kennedy was a rapper in Malibu's Little
Hey, now. Hey, I love that movie. Speaking of politics, he has went so far right on YouTube. It is so funny to watch him. Anybody just type in Jamie Kennedy's podcast. But I love that money. The funniest thing is, did you ever notice he kind of made the same movie twice with just a little bit of a different plot? One of them, he's a rich white boy rapper. The other one, he's a rich white boy hip hop dancer. Of course, that one he gets hit in the head and wakes up like 20 years later. But I always thought it was funny that they were kind of the same movie.
Yeah, the second movie you're talking about is. What movie are you talking about?
Oh man, let me see. I can't think of the name of it now. You don't remember that movie where he's part of a dance crew like in 1988, and they're like real, they're hip hop and they're rap and all that. And then Kicking It Old School came out in 2007. I
didn't watch that.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie at all. It's terrible.
What would you rather watch, that one or Freddie Got Fingered?
Freddie Got Fingered, because Freddie Got Fingered, it's a funny movie in that the studio asked Tom Green to make a movie, and he said no. And they said, here is as much money as you want. And he said, okay, it's going to be crap. And they're like, we don't care. And it's actually, if you've watched it enough, it's actually one of those stupid movies that has a lot of really funny wit into it. And also Rip Torn, man, he went for it. He played his part like it was like this was the most serious role. I actually have a really, really soft spot for Freddie Got Fingered.
Yeah, you must have smoked a lot of dope back in the 90s.
I mean, like a couple hours ago. Oh, yeah, in the 90s. Yes. Yeah, Tom Green was right in my wheelhouse as far as, my age. In fact, I think we're like the same age. And he was one of the first guys that did that true, absurd, doesn't make kind of sense humor. And I just absolutely love him.
This is true. I'll give you that.
All right, so are you going to be back on the sidelines after the probation? I mean, your terms end. Are you going to be back in Texas this year?
I like it out here filling 3 openings with hippie chicks. They're everybody, the hippie chicks get a bad rap, but they're into a lot of stuff, and you can go in a hut with them and man, you can come out 3 days later and be like, whoa, what happened there? So, the myth of rich waspy girls do it the best is kind of like not true. Like you want to get, but then you got to listen to them talk and all that kind of stuff, So Texas is kind of where it's at because if you remove the lust from your eyes and your heart, you'll realize that women aren't all that interesting. And so you just got to get back to where there's football. And there's no football like there's Texas football anywhere in the world. It's kind of like there's no business like snow business or something, whatever the Christmas trailers say. There's snow business and show business and old business or something. And so, yes, we'll be coming back to Texas.
Speaking of hippies and another 20-year movie reference, that reminds me of the Without a Paddle when they meet the 2 hippie girls, the tree huggers, and they're extremely hot, but they haven't obviously shaved their legs in 6 months or so.
Yeah, you run into some of that too. You just got to pretend they're French and just go for it.
All right, before we turn our attention to the game, Grant and I always do this, and you and I did this last year where we kind of just take a step back and look at all of the state championship games between 2A and 4A, and really this year between 2A all the way up to 6A. The last couple years, it was kind of like, okay, there'll be 1 or 2 good games. Franklin, give Franklin credit, man. When they're in a state championship game, whether they're losing a heartbreaker to Canadian on a Hail Mary, basically, or beating Brock because they throw the one pass to clinch the game, or last year losing to Malakoff in a back-to-back, affair. But that's usually stands out. Then there's a lot of blowouts. To me, this year, it feels like we actually have a lot of even matchups between 2A and 4A, but also between 2A all the way up to 6A.
Yeah, it probably means there's going to be some 40-point spreads.
Yeah.
Usually when you gear up like, oh man, this is going to be a great game, and then third quarter it's 56-7, or something like that, or the game you're like, man, this game ain't going to be nothing. Freaking Smith and Valley's got this in the bag, and then there's a nail biter they have to make a stop on fourth and 2 inches to secure the win or something like that. So I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of good games there. I'm not, because I'm not driving there to see a bunch of blowouts where you're like, well, I'm in Arlington. Maybe you can go to a strip club or something like that, I guess. But I'm there to watch football. So I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of close, tight games that make you want to stay there until the fourth quarter.
All right. This is a heavyweight one. I know all state championships are heavyweight one, but I think this is one that everybody's been looking forward to all year long. 3A Division I, Malakoff versus Columbus. I'm excited about this one. What do you think?
Yeah, this should be a good one. I actually wasn't looking forward to this one all year long because coming into the season, or about, I guess, midway through the season, especially when I heard Columbus had some kids there, I thought we were going to get Malakoff versus Franklin round 2. And that was kind of what I wanted to see, to be honest with you, just because of how good of a game last year's one was, where Malakoff scored late to win 14-7. And I wanted to see, Rocky versus Apollo. I wanted to see Rocky too, to see what would happen. But then Columbus just says, oh, never mind, we're going to score 63 points against Franklin. which I bet Franklin ain't giving up 63 points in a game in maybe ever.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that, you're pretty stinking good. And then I heard that Columbus was getting back to getting healthy. And I've heard Malakoff might be a little banged up.
Yeah.
So that might take away a little bit of how good of a game this could be, but still I think it's going to be a really good game.
Well, I mean, when you've got a quarterback like Mike Jones for Malakoff, and, I've said this many times, and I still contend he reminds me so much of Jack Dallas when the West Orange Star quarterback, who didn't put up a ton of amazing stats, but, man, when it was a moment in a game and you needed it, Jack Dallas found a way. And that's kind of what Mike Jones does for this Malakoff team.
Yeah, if you really watch Malakoff and you watch them and you watch Mike Jones, he'll hand off the jet sweep to their guy, and he'll hand it off in the gun to running the jet sweep, and then he'll run downfield 15 yards and he'll block a safety. And it's like, that's not what spread quarterbacks are supposed to do. You're supposed to, hand the ball off, and then if you don't hand the ball off, scramble around and then slide down 5 yards and tip your hat like you did something. So he's not your typical spread quarterback, and he is a really good high school football player and has been for it seems like the kid's been playing since 1986 or something like that. Been around so long. It's hard to pick against that, but the running back for Columbus doesn't seem to lose, whether he's playing with 6 men on the field, 11 men, or 8 men on the field. It doesn't matter. He seems to play really football at a very high level. With, I remember I was coaching a kid that moved into our school from 6 man, and he was coming in, and we put him at running back, and he was just like, I can't play this game. And I was like, well, what's wrong? And he says, there's so many people out here. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess there's literally twice as many as what you're used to. And so a lot of times, that kid was like the 6-man player of the year years ago. And so when I saw the Rigdon kid was moving to Columbus, I was like, well, we'll see, how good he really is. Well, he's really good. And so I got to roll with my man, the Grove, and the Columbus Explorers to, bring Nina and Pinta and Santa Maria all the way to the end zone.
All right, everybody, now's the time. Brown right, motion, tailback slant. Let's put the women and children to bed and go looking for dinner, all right? On 1, ready? Go, 13! Coming up, go, 13! Hey!
All right, here we go. Hang on, we got to get all this out of the way as we are back here for the best game I think that's going to happen, at least in our group, as it's Malakoff versus Columbus. Not real sure how much time we have left. Bringing in Brett now from NETSN. He'll be joining me for most of this game. And you and I were talking a little bit about this earlier in the last game as Gunner wins the Division II state championship. This is one of those games that early on, man, like in August, when me and Grant start getting together and kind of talking the season, I was hoping this was going to happen, and I'm so glad it is.
Yeah, there's been a lot of build up for this one. I think you kind of talked about it, the Kilgore and Slime one, maybe kind of the undercard and forgotten about it. This one's getting all the hype, and I think it's because of what these two, not one team has done, and then one player has done. You know, Rigdon comes over. You know, he just doesn't lose state championships. Malakoff looking for 2 straight undefeated seasons in a row, which, by the way, in Texas high school football nowadays, that is really hard to do. I mean, going undefeated through injuries and everything else, playing that perfect season is really tough, and doing it twice in a row. There's a reason why that's the longest winning streak right now in the state of Texas. And so just to see this game, I'm hoping it lives up to it. Now, we've already had an overtime thriller, Terry. So, I mean, it may not be the best. I mean, maybe it will be. Hopefully it will. But that game earlier is going to be tough to top. I mean, who would have thought we were getting to this game, and it may not be the best one of the day.
I do want to point out one thing about Columbus before Grayson Rigdon. They were still a top 5 team before him. They were still kind of a prohibitive favorite to get through a tough Region 3. And Region 3 ended up not being quite as tough. China Spring and Lorena go up to 4A. Franklin was a little down. Little River Academy lost their running back to Temple and all, but still, and Hitchcock had battled injuries, and Hitchcock beat Columbus. And
Westwood also there in Region 3 was a stout.
Yeah, they have a great quarterback, and that's I never trusted Palestine Westwood. They're going to have to figure. They're kind of one of those teams that I can see the foundation being laid if they can keep getting talent, but they're going to have to figure out the defensive side of the ball now, and there's nothing wrong with that. Center 2 years ago was all offense. Last year, center was better defensively. Center kind of went out a little earlier than I thought, but I love that quarterback for Westwood. But I think it's that quarterback, and I guess are they going to keep the coach? We'll have to figure that out too.
He's a sophomore too.
Yeah, he's a sophomore, and I think the fear you have with him is, does he end up moving? Because that's kind of been a threat,
And one of the guys that we know real well, coaches over there in Palestine now, Terry, right down the road, is going to be rolling out that spread offense. So, I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I didn't even think about that, dude. That's a really, really good point, actually. But yeah. So Columbus was a favorite, and really their only weakness was they had to replace Tavion Whitehead, and Grayson Rigdon showed up on a platter, and that's been the thing. And then it was just navigating through the season, through injuries, a tragic death, then losing to Hitchcock, and one of the most just heartbreaking ways, because they convert a 4th and basically 30 for a miracle touchdown, go for 2 and just miss it. And I was watching that game, and you want to talk about the swing of emotions from holy crap, they just completed a 4th and 30 for a touchdown to holy crap, they just lost the game. I mean, it was just like a gut punch. They responded well. Unfortunately, Hitchcock injuries got them, so we didn't get a chance to see the rematch. Malakoff, as you said, they've 31-game winning streak. I do think it's a little fitting. Now, Malakoff had been to state before last year and lost, but this kind of feels a little bit like last year, where Franklin, who had not won for state championship, they finally broke through, and then Malakoff beat them, and now so Malakoff finally broke through, and then now Columbus is here, and they're trying to finally break through. So it kind of feels like 3A Division I's kind of been a team handing the next team the title after they've won the title. So I mean, this is a great matchup. Not only the Rigdon story and all that, but just simply, these are 2 really good teams. And Mike Jones at quarterback and Tennessee.
Who?
Mike Jones. Who?
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's so funny. They did that joke to me. I don't know. I just never got into Mike Jones, the singer. I don't know what it was about it, but yeah, Grant liked doing that one for a while too. But Tennyson at running back. Now, where Malakoff is down this year is they don't quite have that depth, and that's going to be a factor, I think, in this game, because Columbus has had injuries too, but they've been able to replace their injured offensive linemen with just as good young offensive linemen, and so. I don't know, man. This is a back and forth game. This feels like the game that Grant said it best in the pregame. You don't want it to happen, but this feels like the game that it's probably going to be a terrible turnover or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, who can protect the ball? I mean, make the least penalties and mistakes. I mean, those kind of things in this big a game will be amplified. You're right. I mean, when you've got 2 teams that we think are very comparable as far as team wise. Any kind of mistakes can just change the momentum of the game. And so I hope that it's not. I hope it doesn't come down. I hope it's just good football, and we just, whoever has the ball last gets the win. But I'm just looking forward to it. I think this is I've watched a lot of Malakoff. Obviously, we cover them over in East Texas. Shouts my man Diggs, but we cover them, and so we've followed them all year long. They've stayed at the top of our rankings that we do 3A and below all year long. And it's just like one of those things. Like, I'm not picking against Malakoff until someone knocks them off. It's like, why would you? I mean, they're the champs. We use the Ric Flair statement: to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Columbus has a chance to beat the man. I think that's what they want. They wanted Malakoff, I'm sure, because then it taints if you don't get to beat the defending state champs, the team you thought was there. Then did you really beat the best team? Did they just have a bad week and lose? But I mean, Malakoff has been impressive. I know they struggled last week. I'm hoping for them, and as I'm pulling for them as being an East Texas team, that last week will come up. I looked at the score going to the fourth quarter down 19-7. I was like, what is going on over there? And then a couple things turn, end up knocking Paradise out, and then their coach retires. He was actually on TV earlier. They had him on. They were interviewing him on the set there. But shout out to Malakoff, man. It's tough to knock a champion out. I mean, you got somebody that knows how to win. It's tough to put them down. And that's what Columbus is going to have to realize. Even if they get up early, they can't play lackadaisical, because I mean, you saw what happened. Malakoff, they've got the guys to do it. You can't let them back in the game. You've got to put them away and put them away early if you want to. If the longer the game goes, when it gets into a big moment, you're going to see the big players step up. I think it's going to be Mike Jones and Grayson Rigdon's show there. If it's close in the end, I'd like to see one of those guys do something special for their team and cap off an incredible career for each player.
Yeah, you talk about that game last week, and, when you get up to winning 30, 31, 32 games in a row, heck, if you just win 8 games in a row, sometimes you need magic. And they had magic earlier in the year. I can't remember who. Madisonville had to kick a game-winning field goal after Madisonville basically not led the whole way, but was in control for a lot of that game. And then last week, Paradise, one of the just terrible interceptions, and it was a terrible interception that led to a pick six, and the quarterback got hurt. I mean, it was just, you want to talk about one of the biggest gut punches I have seen in a football game, outside of being a Cowboy fan, was watching just one of the worst interceptions in the worst moment you can have. I mean, it wasn't and I don't mean I'm not knocking the quarterback or the defensive player, but it wasn't a great play by the defender. It was just a bad throw. And then he got hurt, and the air in the balloon just went completely out at that moment for Paradise. But Paradise, I mean, they were going on 9-minute drives against Malakoff. They were controlling Malakoff's defensive line. Jefferson, I was at the Jefferson Malakoff game. Jefferson, who I think is the most comparable to Columbus that Malakoff has played, you could make the case that Jefferson outplayed them. Mike Jones converted on a 4th and 12. When if he doesn't get it, Jefferson has a chance to go 2 scores up. And I don't think at that moment, I don't know if Malakoff could come back from that. But Malakoff just keeps winning. Now, is that magic going to continue, or does it usually what happens is when a team that has won many games in a row, you'll see them have 2 or 3 where they should have and could have, but still pulled it out. But then about that 3rd or 4th time, it finally, it breaks. Either way, I think we're in for a classic game. I want to thank our sponsor for this segment, Eads Meats in Amarillo. If you're out in Amarillo and you need a Christmas gift, check out Eads Meats. You can stop by their Hillside address at 6103 Hillside Suite 400. Give them a call, 806-352-4242, or go online to eadscustommeats.com. All you got to do, eadsmeats.com. And if you're in Amarillo, they still have a Christmas gift box available. They do ship, but right now, because it's Christmas, they're concentrating on that. But after Christmas Christmas, if you'd like to get some of their meats and you live like where I do in Rowlett, because Grant Goodwin and I, my co-host for Sideline, we're going to do that here in the off season. Just go to eadsmeats.com and then hit the shopping for shipping only. And they have a great selection of gift boxes, jalapeno cheddar sticks, all the kind of fun stuff. And we thank them for being a sponsor here as we're getting close to kickoff. So what we'll do is we'll take a break and then we'll come back, and Brett and I'll be having some fun, talking some football, and hopefully watching a great one right here on Sideline to Sideline, the Class 3A Division I watch party on L4 Radio.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room, and help with balance when I'm on the baseball field.
One of the most comfortable, reduces concussion, increases performance. You can't get a mouthpiece like that on the market.
Not only is it a great product, it's super easy to use. I recommend it for any player at any age or any level. Thank you guys so much, and go check out NeuroGuard Plus.
NeuroGuard mouthpiece makes it easier to breathe while playing basketball. The unique design is not as bulky as any other mouthpiece and makes you feel safe in concussions.
NeuroGuard, they control my breathing while I'm riding. It stops me getting concussions while I wreck. It's very easy to use, so go pick one up today.
You know, I'm still doing stunts. You know, and the concussions I've got, and I feel much safer with that. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing a whole lot better in the gym. So NeuroGuard Plus, you know, once this one wears out, you've got a customer for life, because I'm telling you people, NeuroGuard Plus is the way to go, and me, Mark Ash, says so.
Parents, kids, coaches, NeuroGuard. It's the future. Stay tuned.
All right, Terry Bennett, Brett Sweeney from NETSN is back as we're about 10, I guess about 5 minutes away. I don't know. I haven't put the broadcast earbuds back in yet. Kind of have a headache after having.
They just came on the field there a minute ago, Terry. We went to commercial. Looks like we got a little bit of time before there.
So give me your prediction.
This one's tough. We got two great offenses. I want it to be a shootout, but I don't know. I think it's going to come down to the end. I could see this being a kick at the end of the game to win. I'm going to pick Malakoff. That's who I went with in our pick 'em challenge we have every week. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to say 38-35 on a game-winning field goal. That's what I'm going for. I want it to be coming down to the last second. And I'm pulling for the Tigers. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough competition. I mean, like I said, you got a Columbus team that's already good. You add a superstar, a three-time MVP, you might add. Is there ever been someone, Terry, that's won MVP 4 years in a row?
I don't think so, because I don't think Kyler Murray won it every year.
I know he'd be a feat that rigged. I mean, I'm sure there's been some players that have that particular thing, being the best player on the field for 4 state championships. That would be a feat that I don't know that that'd be tough to ever do again. I mean, because playing as a freshman is one thing, but being the best player on the field in a state championship as a freshman and all 4 years, that would be an incredible. They're showing it now too, Terry. Longest game in the nation, Malakoff, longest winning streak in the nation.
31. I mean, that's a lot, but you would think there would be somebody as Malakoff's going to kick off. Now, I do want to remind everybody that the scoreboard that we show is usually ahead of what we see. So sometimes you'll see what's actually going on before we do. I try not to look at it because I want to be surprised, but I want to provide that information as it's going to be a kickoff. Malakoff to Columbus. Columbus in their all whites with the red helmets with the interlocking CC, a very clean look. Malakoff in the all blacks. This is a great intern. Noah and I judge NFL games. We call them great uniform games, and that's when both uniforms not only look good, but they kind of work together. This is one of those. This is a great uniform game. I actually think it's 38-35, but I think it's Columbus, and I think that this could be one of those games where it's a low-scoring game until the fourth quarter, and then things start going crazy. But let's see what happens as Columbus will start with the ball at the 28-yard line, and we already have a flag.
Man. You're a little ahead of me, I guess, because I hadn't seen that yet. There it is.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of hard to do this the way we're doing it because we're all streaming it, and so like a lot of times, sometimes the scoreboard will get 2 or 3 plays ahead of me.
So legal substitution. That's not the way you want to start.
Not real sure how you start that way.
I do like the fact that as a broadcaster, Terry, these uniforms are easy to find numbers.
Yep.
I've had some this year that were like a dark on dark or a light color, but you can really see those numbers. So that's, as a broadcaster, they look nice.
Columbus on the 1st and 15 is going to throw the ball slant to the slot. Say that fast enough. Gain of about 7, so it's going to be 2nd down and 8. Again, first play that illegal substitution. And so it was 1st and 15.
Yeah, this is going to be an important first down for Columbus. They started against the sticks here, but I like that play call though. Get most of it back, and it was a pretty safe route. Just a quick slant.
And with this offense, 1st and 15 is not an immeasurable start. As now they're going to go deep down the field. And they've got a man wide open. Going to be a big catch down to the 20. The ball comes out at the end. Let's see if they're going to say it was down or not.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. They're going to probably review it, though, I would imagine.
He acted like he fumbled it.
Yeah.
No, I think he was down. Oh, I don't know. Let's see.
You need the angle from the other side. They haven't showed it here for me yet.
No, he was down. He was down.
Right here's the angle. You probably just saw it, but I'm just now seeing it. And yep, the ground definitely caused it. You're right.
Schobel now as the Cardinals in 2 plays. As I just said, they can erase a 1st and 15. They haven't even given it to Rigdon yet. As Schobel now is going to do a little option keeper, and he finds a lane and gets about 5.5 yards. Well, this is the kind of start you want for Columbus. Maybe this will be a shootout early on. Boy, I would love that. I love a good shootout as long as it's against good defenses. I don't like it like Lindale a few years ago when them and I think it was Needville got into that just basketball score to
Nobody
where Grant
can stop anybody. It's just bad defense.
Yeah, just wide open and no tackling. And Grant got so frustrated he was ready to leave the game, even though it was such in theory, a great game.
Yeah, I like a solid game with some defense, but I like a little offense too. I like to see some points.
What was that? Was that you?
Oh, it was probably a chat that was going on over here.
Oh, that's cool. I've never heard that sound before.
That was KO. KO's on the sideline down there. He's bragging. He's on the Malakoff 10-yard line down the field.
Nice. You can't beat that. Trying to get rid of all these darn stream scammers. It's not been as bad as it has been until the playoffs, and then they all came back out in full force.
Yeah. They have all kinds of ways to watch, even though you can't watch it online except for through the FanDuel. I actually I paid for the month subscription to FanDuel, like $20. You know, I already canceled it, so I can watch all the games.
I did the FUBU 7-day trial.
I couldn't do that because I actually used to have it, and so I had that for a while as one of my streaming services. So
Rigdon's first carry is going to be a huge game, but he's up. Okay, whoo. It looked like that almost was a horse collar.
Ooh.
So I just create dummy emails for stuff like that. Jeremy Hargrove, Columbia Cardinal alum, and one of the Cardinal greats. He's in the chat. He's watching the game from his home.
Man, yeah, that could have been nasty. You kind of it was an awkward looking.
Yeah, it really was. But first and goal.
I guess he's all right. You're right. The spoilers on the screen there.
Yep. Touchdown, Colum. Wow, dude. A first down and they get an illegal substitution. And it was so apropos. We were just talking about how, hey, this offense is explosive enough. They can race a 1st and 15. And they did it in 2 plays. And other than the penalty, Malakoff looked like they were, Columbus looked like they were playing against air right there.
That was a statement drive right there, Terry. I believe it was a definite statement. It'll be interesting to see how Malakoff answers that.
It's weird, but to think.
Oh, that was an ugly looking extra point.
Yeah, they can. He can be an interesting on the extra points at times.
I mean, it looked like a
knuckleball almost.
I don't know. That was really low.
But it's weird to think that Malakoff might be offensively thinking, hey, we want to score, of course, but we also want to play keep away. And Malakoff, they're a dynamic offense. They usually like to score, but I don't know if they want to get into a shootout with Columbus.
Well, yeah, then you end up getting your defense right back on the field and wearing them out. You want to try to sustain a drive and get your defense a little bit of a break.
Of course, the Schobel family, well known in Columbus, brothers that all played D1. A couple went pro. They also have Schobel's restaurant there, which we ate there when we went and saw Columbus and Belleville. And whoo, boy, the steak there was fantastic. I'll send them a bill for advertising. So Malakoff now will get the kickoff as they trail 7-0. Nice return up to the 30-yard line, but there's a flag down. Speaking of great steaks, again, check out Eads Custom Meat Market in Amarillo. They have great gift boxes. If you're there in Amarillo, you can call it in and go pick it up. They're not doing shipping right now, but after Christmas, if you're in the state of Texas or anywhere in the United States and want some great quality meat, go to Eads online at eadsmeats.com. So it's going to be a penalty against Malakoff holding, so that erases a pretty solid return.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Both teams kind of starting their offensive possessions with penalties.
Oh, yeah, good point.
This one on the kickoff, but it's going to affect their starting. Oh, yeah, right there. Yeah, you can't tackle them down. That's not going to work.
We got about 5,000 people, actually almost 5,850 people. And I kind of figured this one would be a big draw tonight. So Malakoff with their first play of the game. Mike Jones is going to get a big gain. He's going to get outside the 35, and Malakoff is looking to answer Columbus. We might have us a track meet.
I'm down for it, Terry.
Heck yes, dude.
Sign me up for the track meet any day.
Because like I said, this is going to be a well-earned points by both of these teams if it does become high scoring.
I mean, I think it's impressive is the touchdown to interception ratio. They're just putting Mike Jones up there, but Schobel too. Both of them have not very many interceptions to a lot of touchdowns on them. It's a very high percentage. So, oh no, I thought he moved for a second.
Another big play. So Malakoff's driving. The crazy thing about Adam Schobel is the fact that this is a D1 QB, one of the top 15 in the nation, second in the state, and Grayson Rigdon has absolutely shadowed him and become the big, news. And I think that's been the best thing for Schobel. It's allowed him just to be quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it takes the pressure off of him for sure when you got somebody like that on your team. I mean, he takes all the headlines, and you just go about your business doing your thing.
Malakoff, empty set, looking to throw in another big play. So far, both offenses are on point right now. Of course, Columbus went down and scored in 5 plays. Malakoff now has yet to, I think, their smallest gain, 7 yards.
Yeah, they're taking what Columbus is giving them right now.
Yep. And I think Mike Jones, and I've labeled him a winner. Everybody labels him a winner. I've compared him to Jack Dallas, the old West Orange Stark quarterback from 10 years ago that, was just wonderful. But I think people forget that, Mike Jones throws a pretty ball. Mike Jones is not just some dude that's winging it. He's a really good throwing quarterback.
Yeah, but he's good at doing what he needs to do for the team to win. If he needs to take off and run with it on 4th down and get a first down, he does it. If he needs to step back and throw it, I mean, he kind of just does that's going to be a good game too. Man.
Yeah. Malakoff with another first down. They're inside the 15-yard line at the 13, 1st and 10. 7:15 left in the first quarter. We've seen more offense already between these two drives than Woodville had all game, and I'm not kidding. Add up the stats. It's literally more yards than what Woodville had for a whole game in the last game.
I mean, you may have this after the first quarter. You may have more yards than both teams had.
Yep.
Last game. I mean, no shot against or no stab against Gunter, but their defense is what won them that game.
Oh yeah, very much so. And another nice play by Mike Jones, and it's going to be near the first down, and it's going to be a touchdown, as the scoreboard shows us. As again, the scoreboard spoils it all. I've kind of enjoyed seeing the result of the play first, and then seeing how it happens after. It's kind of like when you get the plot of a movie.
You can kind of watch for it.
Yeah, you can just kind of watch for it and see, okay, how is this going to happen? But wow, both of these offenses have come out firing.
Mike Jones does a really good job when he's running to kind of latch on to one of his linemen and just kind of, all right, here, you get blocked this way. And he's smart, doesn't outrun his block, just stays behind him.
And yeah, he's very, very, very calm in his running, as I like to say. And like you say, he does a good job of following his blockers. He does a good job of forcing, people just think, and this is one of those things when people talk like, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and people talk about the offensive line. And I don't think what people understand was one of the things that made Emmitt Smith so great is he knew how to set up the block. Meaning he would feign like he was going right and force a defender into the block, and then he would cut left. Mike Jones does that. Grayson Rigdon, all the great running backs do that. And you saw it there on a couple of Mike Jones's big runs. Like you said, he just kind of got behind the lineman and let the lineman dictate where he needed to go.
Yeah. That's what an answer. We talked about how would Malakoff answer, Terry. They answered.
That's what
the bell.
That's what teams with 31-game winning streaks usually do. No matter who wins, again, unless just weird things start happening, I don't think that we're going to have many more points than a 7-point game at all times between the two. And in fact, outside of Gunter, Woodville, the other 3 games has never had more than a 1-score lead for either team. Nobody has gotten up 2 scores other than Gunter over Woodville.
And that game was a 1-score game at half. So,
yep.
And they got that. I'm telling you, that was that, return touchdown that really just kind of put the end of the hammer and nail, just kind of started nailing it in. They just, you could tell that Woodville couldn't get behind. They weren't going to do enough offensively against what Gunter was doing to really come back from that. So that just really, really kind of finished them off. Not that the game was over, but you could just see it kind of hit them like, oh man, we're in trouble now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So we're in a timeout now with a commercial. 7-7. Columbus took the ball and they immediately went 77 yards on 5 plays. Rigdon with the touchdown, but Schobel was 2 for 2 for 56 yards. Fisher with the big catch for 49 yards. Malakoff then took the ball, and they went 80 yards in 6 plays. Neither team has had a third down yet. That's freaking amazing just to think about that. Mike Jones 1 for 1, 19 yards, 2 rushes, 26 yards. Jarian Hall with the touchdown. He has 2 carries and 14 yards. Man,
That's crazy. No, of course, Malakoff 5 first downs, a little more. The Columbus had the bigger plays, but they about even though 77 and 80. Can't get much more even than that on offense.
So let me ask you something. You being the Chapel Hill alum, do you root for Kilgore tomorrow?
Yeah, I do. I do because they're one of our schools. I mean, we do cover every East Texas team now. I mean, obviously, that game was a big one for them. I think we mentioned it earlier. Just they kind of had Chapel Hill kind of had Kilgore's number there, and it's kind of crazy that they've been good for the last 3 or 4 years. They just they had that Chapel Hill roadblock there, and so. Yeah. I mean, they could have gone. They could have just as easily gone, and I look at it too. I mean, you look at who Chapel Hill got beat by over the last, several years. You had Anna, which they're now in 5A. You had LBJ, they were in 5A after that, and then moved back down.
Yeah.
You had who was the other team? Bernie, and they are now in 5A. So that was the deal. I mean, some of the teams that Chapel Hill played, they were just bigger schools. That depth just got them. And just when you have that many guys, and so Kilgore now playing Salina. Now Salina's in a growing area, but I don't think it's near as they're more evenly matched as far as guys. So I really think it's going to be a good game. I'm pulling for the Kilgore. I want them to bring it back to the East Texas area. I think we might have a couple of Red Dog trophies coming home tomorrow, so I'm excited.
Well, it's crazy too to think about that, because if both of them win, then the first game of the year was the de facto Class 4A state championship game. Now, if you played that game again, I think we'd have a way different result, but still, you got to give Kilgore credit. We were there for that one, and
Kilgore woke Carthage up. They've been ticked off ever since.
Another deep throw by Columbus as Matt Schobel just out of the reach.
He was open.
Yeah, and to be fair, if you were going to point to a quote-unquote weakness for Malakoff, it's been their defense against good offenses. Not against everybody, but against good offenses. But you could also say the same for Columbus. Columbus gave up points to Belleville. Columbus gave up points, of course, when they lost to Hitchcock. So that's the interesting thing about this. These two defenses are solid, not always great against good offenses.
Well, and when you're that good, usually your offense can help you out in this kind of game. So it's interesting. Up the first third down of the game, Terry. Yep. What's going on with them now? They have a third down? No way.
Rigdon, when he runs, I've never seen a guy that runs like he does. We were talking about how Mike Jones runs under control, but Rigdon, I mean, at times it's almost like he's not even running hard yet. Nobody can tackle him or nobody can catch him. So here's 3rd down and 4. Schobel looking to throw. He has a man. It's Rigdon. No, it's Pitchford for the first down. So the first 3rd down is converted.
Yeah, it's an easy pitch and catch there. That's a good play call.
Boy, I think Schobel's going to be special in college.
Where is he committed to?
TCU. Well, Baylor, and then I think he flipped to TCU.
Okay. Yeah, there's only one school that I care about, Terry, and it's that one down in the middle of the state in Austin. So if they can go over there, that little JV conference in the Big 12, it's okay.
I'm a little worried about that Clemson game Saturday.
I feel like it shouldn't be, But
yeah, but that's what scares me about it. A Schobel in trouble now, and he's going to be sacked. So the first big play by a defense, Malakoff with the sack as Poteet gets it. He's the one that had the big play on offense for the 19-yard gain. And now it's second down and 19 with 5:17 left in the first quarter of a tie game. Boy, that's one of the few times Schobel made a mistake. He should have just dumped the ball after he got around that first guy.
I think he thought he could get by him there. He thought he could get, and he just got ankle tackled there.
But again, with this offense, second and 19 is not out of their stretch. Schobel throws, and as we say that, almost a first down. Usher stepped out of bounds about a yard short right there.
I think he could have reached the ball out if he didn't know where he was.
Yeah, I think they're going to give him the first down.
Oh, they did?
I didn't see him stretch the ball out.
No, I thought if he would have gotten it. I don't know that he got it live.
They gave him the first down.
Wow.
I wonder if they're going to review this.
Because I felt like he was like a yard short.
I did too. I thought he stepped out. And no, they don't review it.
What do you think about the reviews too? We didn't talk about that earlier. I mean,
I like it. You look at the Stanford game. I know they ended up losing, but the officials, I mean, I'll say it, blew a call where they thought,
where he passed, where they called him where he went past on a scrimmage, but he didn't.
Yeah, that was, I don't even know how they even made that call. Like, it wasn't even close. But without the review, that Stanford, I mean, and I know they ended up losing anyway, but Stanford loses the game right there. I mean, that was 4th and 13.
Do you think the referee doesn't call that if he doesn't know that it's going to be reviewed anyway? Is it a case where you call it where you think it might be close and then they're going to review it? I mean,
that's a good question. I don't know for referees because none of them were like, sometimes you'll get some Big 12 guys that do high school and stuff. In fact, the one Big 12 guy used to do all the state games, or not all of them, but he used to do a lot of them. I've talked to officials that have review at all times with them, college official, and I've talked to an NFL official and literally asked almost that same question word for word, and they're like, no. But a guy who doesn't normally have review with him, maybe he does because he's thinking in his mind about the review. But either way, it was a bad call. The review fixed it. I like it. I think it should stay the way it is, where it's at state championship games.
Do you think it ever makes it down?
No, because I say no. I mean, the technology gets cheaper, but no. Going to go deep as a man, and what a catch.
Wow. Great catch.
Dude, this, we're talking about Schobel. We're talking about Rigdon, but these wide receivers for Columbus have started the game hot. No, I don't think it ever trickles all the way down simply because of technology and cost of technology.
But Terry, we're already doing it in the booth now. The new rules with the coaches, they can review the play live right after it happens. So what's the difference in that and having a referee review it? Right,
but that's not that doesn't.
I don't know. You got that technology.
But not every team's going to use that technology. It's just available if you want to use it. It's not like a standard.
I'll tell you this. Every game I went to, they were using it this year. Because I got to see all the coaches. Oh, touchdown.
Oh, I think your feed's caught up to mine. Good.
Yeah, because
but they're using the all 22s though.
But it's there. I mean, it's there at that point. So,
but what I'm saying is, I mean, the view that they're using, you really couldn't use for real reviews, though. You're going to still need a couple of different angles. I mean, I say never. I don't think it's going to happen in the next 20 years or anything. And I don't know if I want it to. I mean, I think I like it at state because it's already in place. You've already got all the cameras already there, and that kind of makes it special. I don't see a game in Maud, Texas being decided by.
Yeah. I think it's closer than you think. With everything,
I don't disagree on that. I don't disagree on that.
With all the things that can be done, it doesn't cost as much, and some things already being in place. You've got cameras mounted on pretty much every press box. I know it's not your angle right now. But future-wise, they may be able to make those better where it gets more angles and more shots, and you have that availability. I think it probably would be one of those things that would start in the 6A level and work its way down.
Yeah.
but I don't think it's that far away. Being in the tech world, I mean, there's some crazy stuff you can do, and things aren't near as expensive as it used to be. That's also one of the things that Corey and I talk about during basketball season, the shot clock. When is the shot clock going to be in high school? And that's another thing. It's the technology, but I think it's at some point going to work its way down to the high school level.
So my belief on the shot clock, I think that they've used the technology as an excuse, like, oh, it's too expensive and all that. I think at the end of the day, it's like National League with the pitchers hitting. I think too many coaches want to have that weapon of we can play keep away if we have to, and I don't think they want to give that up. I'll admit to you, and I've told you this before, that's the thing that keeps me from liking high school basketball. I've broadcast it a few times. I enjoy broadcasting it, but I've also broadcast teams that played four corners, and it was 25-20 type games. And to me, that ruins the spirit of the game.
Yeah. And that's what we've talked about too. Like they've changed that now. The new rule that they've done over the last couple of years, they've changed it to now where they have the 5 fouls per quarter.
Yeah.
They've done away with the 1-and-1, which is it's kind of an old school rule that's always been there. Takes some strategy away at the end as well. Like, you don't have that 1-and-1 where you can foul and maybe you have a miss and get the ball back with no points. You have to shoot 2 every time. So there's some different rules I didn't think would ever change. That's changed. So now the 1-and-1 is completely out of the game except for the men's college game. They're the only ones that still have the 1-and-1. So I don't know. I think it eventually it'll come down. I think enough of the players, they want to get their players to the next level. And to have a shot clock is that next level, right? So you want to prepare. They need to know that they have a certain amount of time to play, and we just can't stall. I know it's a strategy thing, but it's boring, and I think most people don't like it. Only coaches that are kind of on the least talented team sometimes can stall it out and try to get possessions and make maybe try to get a win, but I'm a fan of the shot clock for that. I'm like you. I don't want to see a 12-10 basketball game. That's not what I signed up for. So it'll be interesting to see. The technology and stuff though is really cool, and it's coming around. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out here.
The funny thing is you and I say that, but you and I also love when a football offense takes the ball and goes 12 plays and, takes 10 minutes off the clock.
But they still only have so much time to do it. They can't just sit there and that's the same thing with basketball. I mean, you go have a certain amount of time, run your play, take your shot, and then go back on defense.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so Malakoff starts at the 28-yard line. They're on 28, and we see Columbus with their first big defensive play.
That was a good time, little almost like a blitz up the middle there by the linebacker. He timed that perfect. He's coming, didn't have any chance to get blocked. That was a great play.
Somebody that Jason Pearson out in West Texas does wonderful work, and somebody in our chat is trying to act like they're them, but the name is Jocelyn Pearson.
Man, no, if you're good, you'll get duplicated real easily.
We actually sideline to sideline. We had one last year. Somebody asked if it was us, and they were using our logo and everything. All of a sudden, Columbus's defense looks like they're making big play. Y'all had a dummy one too.
Yeah, there's.
I actually wasn't paying attention because whenever you always tag us, say tag. I just saw the NETSN and I shot it off on our sideline, and you messaged me like, "Hey, that ain't us."
Yeah, they get out there. I don't know who has that much time on their hands. I sure don't, but somebody does.
Oh, I watch on YouTube where the people will find those, and it's places over in the Middle East. I mean, in India and stuff, and it's just hundreds of people, and that's all they're doing. 3rd down and 14, and Mike Jones is hit by Jack Schobel.
Man.
Or John Schobel, excuse me, John. I always say Jack.
That's the be the first punt of the game here.
Boy, the Columbus defense night and day from where they were that first drive.
They brought it that time. They were bringing pressure every down. So they're going to have to. Malakoff's going to have to make an adjustment on that. They're either going to have to get some quick plays. They're going to try to cheat up and bring pressure. Maybe throw a little screen pass or a little quick pass play or something.
Oh, and that's going to be a good punt, but a chance for a good return if they don't call a flag right there.
Like a block in the back.
Blocking the back. I thought they were going to. He tried to not complete the block, but once you start it, you might as well go ahead and block them because they're going to call you any day.
And I don't think he needed it either. I don't think
he did either. I think the guy just got up under him, and it's, I say this now, how do you let that happen? But man, it's really easy to in the moment get kind of caught up in that, and the guy gets past you and you just react to it.
This is a big drive for both teams right here. I mean, Malakoff needs to stop. I mean, Columbus is kind of rolling. Their defense is playing well. And now they're still going to have a good field position here. So
first down and 10, they lead with 23 seconds left in the first quarter. Rigdon in trouble. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
That is why Grayson Rigdon is the player of the year.
Jeez.
As he Marcus Allen'd it. He was going right. There was nothing there, so he just said, I'm just going to go the other way, and gets a big gain.
He made it look really easy, too.
I was just about to say, it worked because he committed early. He didn't wait. As soon as he saw it wasn't there, he immediately turned the other way. I was going to bring up, they keep showing him on the sideline, and one thing I've noticed, and I noticed this when we were down there, he's not one of those guys that when he's not on the field, he goes and sits. He's always moving. He's always walking on the sideline. He's moving back and forth. He just has such, to be so calm, like in interviews and stuff, he has so much kinetic energy on the sideline. Are they going to say he stepped out of bounds?
I don't know. They reset the play clock there. They don't have to snap it, I don't think. Well, I guess maybe he did because they stopped it. So I guess this most likely be the last play unless it's a incomplete pass.
So here we go. First down and 10 for Columbus. They're already back in Malakoff's side of the field. Bouncing it outside Rigdon.
Or he runs out of bounds. That would do it. Just easy. Just makes it look easy.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he's going to do in college. He was going to look like he was going to commit to North Carolina State, but he switched over to Wyoming because they're going to let him play two sports. I think his side is going to hurt him. His size is going to hurt him. But, man, he is such a good athlete. He's going to figure it out.
Well, just went over 2,000 yards for the season right there.
And we're talking about a guy who, he was sitting in a lot of second halves.
Oh, he catch it?
Oh, my gosh.
He caught it. Yep, he sure did.
What a throw and what a catch.
Man, that's the second or third one they've caught where the defense wasn't looking, and Columbus just went up and took the ball. Great job by the receiver there.
Yeah, Fisher, who is a sophomore.
Jeez, he's a big target out there too.
And there's another Schobel quarterback that's coming down the pike. I think he's if Jeremy's still in the chat, I think he's a sophomore. But wow, just amazing, man. Just freaking amazing. Ooh, Brett Lee said he gave all the credit to Schobel, but he says that he thinks it's the wide receivers. Yes, but Schobel is putting that ball where only the wide receivers can catch it. That's a two-way street right there. Yeah, that Fisher made a great catch, but Schobel put that where only Fisher was going to catch that ball or it was going to be incomplete.
Yeah, it's a great throw. I mean, through one, Malakoff needs to respond here, Terry. They're now in a spot where I don't say that it's do or die, but they need to respond here Columbus has looked not able to be stopped so far. So Malakoff needs to respond. I mean, it's still only a 1-score game here, or a 2-score game. They can see to get back, keep it that 1-score game. But you look at the yards. What did we say earlier? What was the yardage? We have 203 and 66. So we've got 269 yards in the first quarter. That's pretty salty. I think it may be a little bit better. We were looking at 1,000 yards for this game if we keep that.
Possibly. I mean, you've got Schobel already has 156 yards on only 7 throws. Rigdon has 49 yards on only 7 attempts. And the funny thing is, I mean, it's not like Malakoff. They've had 2 drives, a score, and then 1 bad one. But I mean, Malakoff moved the ball well the first time, but Columbus looks like they adjusted. And again, I go back to the one thing that Malakoff all year, their defense has been good, but not great against really good offenses. And they've played some good ones, but at least right now, this is the best offense they've played, and Columbus is showing when they're on point. Now, to be fair, Columbus can also get into stretches where they lose the focus, and they kind of sometimes get a little too cute. Sometimes they just can't quite make the first down. So we'll have to see if they can keep it going.
So far, so good for Columbus.
And no, I agree. Brett Lee talking about that the receivers are just making great catches, and they are. And that's one of the things that Columbus over the last few years, as great as Schobel has had, Brett's right. They've also had guys that just know how to go up and get the ball, know how to catch the ball at the right spots, and that's why this offense is so fun to watch.
Oh, no, I'm just now seeing Brett's comments over here. The disrespect. No one cares. Who is TU? Is that Tennessee?
I don't know. Tarleton University, maybe. I don't know what TU is.
I don't know who TU is. I know the University of Texas. I don't know anybody else. That's the only university in Texas that I'm really aware of.
Hey, East Texas A&M.
Well, yeah, true. But
that's where I went. Hey, and East Texas A&M's won the most recent national championship. Oh, Columbus now going to be kicking off with a 2-score lead.
I'm telling you, Brett Lee, he needs to send a quarterback a gift for Christmas, because if we had Manning in the game, it wouldn't have been even close there. So, maybe he needs to find a gift for Ewers and send it to him, because
I'm not sold on Manning being that much better yet. I think he will be. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't super impressed when he did get extended playing time. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't start over Ewers, because I do think Ewers' biggest issue is he's hurt. I don't think people understand that. He's hurt.
He's not right. Something ain't right.
Yeah, he's not right. But I just don't know if Manning is that far ahead of him either right now. I think he will be when his career is over.
Yeah.
Here's a big play for Malakoff as Tennyson goes off for 9 yards and just kind of fell down. I think he ran up on the back of his own guy there.
I honestly just think it is for what he can do with the offense. Like, it opens the playbook up more for what Sark wants to do.
Yeah.
And Ewers, he can't. He's not a threat to run at all. I mean, you see him, he scrambles every once in a while, but in his passing, you just never know where he's going to do with it. Like, sometimes it looks perfect, pinpoint, and then other times it's like, ooh, what is he doing?
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing about him. And again, no, I think a lot of that's because he's not right now. Because when he started the season, I mean, he was one of the he was on the path to be one of the Heisman finalists. I mean, he started strong, and then the injuries happened, and he just hasn't looked right since then. And that's what scares me about this Clemson game is the one thing Clemson defense does well is create turnovers. Now, they're going to give up points and they're going to give up yards, but they're an opportunistic defense, and that's not the kind of defense I really want Quinn going up against. They need to reestablish that run. That's where they were starting to make hay in that second half of the season.
So I'm hearing here from my guys in our chat here, Grayson Rigdon's an honorary East Texan. He's Brandon from the Tyler Paper, Ogden. He says he covered his brothers in high school at Cayuga and Carlisle. So he was in Carlisle up until 8th grade. So that's an interesting fact about Mr. Rigdon. I knew he had that East Texas blood somewhere.
It's the side of him that makes him good.
Yeah, it is.
Cayuga. We were just talking about Cayuga and me and Coach X, that 3-year run they had, one of the greatest 3-year runs from a team that just got hot, had a great class, was dominant, and then went and disappeared again.
Yeah. We covered Carlisle a lot this year, and Coach Baker coming back to the mix at Carlisle's going.
Were you surprised by that?
Yes and no. I feel like there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes at Henderson right now, and he could kind of had more control there. He had an AD head coaching split. You didn't have a superintendent. They tried to reassign Coach Freeman the AD during the year. I think they've reassigned him now. Henderson was in shambles before, and I think he's going to have more control of what he wants to do. And he had success at Carlisle before. They've got a lot coming back. That sophomore group there, we covered them, and they're going to be pretty good. So I think it's a good move for him as far as personally. I think it's a less pressure job. I think he can win there and stay there and be there as long as he wants.
Yeah, it's funny. He's a Henderson hometown guy, but I think at the end of the day, I think maybe Carlisle Price is his home, and I do think there's some things behind the scenes, but I also think it showed where Henderson was to where when they beat the number 1 team in state and still don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough place to win. I mean, the district is just tough, and Henderson is just so far away from. Oh, yeah, that was close. I think you got a piece of it.
And somebody would not if they're only relying on us, they're like, what in the hell does woo mean? Columbus almost blocked the punt as Malakoff got a first down, but then a flag. And then, I am absolutely shocked to say that we might be having a 3-score deficit here in the first half if Malakoff doesn't watch out. Now, in saying that, I still wouldn't count Malakoff out.
Well, they did get a piece of it, too.
Yeah, they got a little piece of it.
There's a referee. Good call by the ref. He got that tip call real good. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he's able to do in Carlisle. We know they've won and they had some tradition, and he'll have some of those guys where he knows some of the players. He hadn't been gone but a couple of years. So
yeah, oh yeah. They're all still in Price Carlisle kind of underwhelmed this year. And they kind of underwhelmed last year as well. And so I don't think. We did a show with him in year 1. I don't think that. I think the town he left isn't the town he came back to, if that makes sense. And that happens. Henderson has to understand they're not where they were 12 years ago. When they dropped down and instantly became a power and went to state and all. But since then, they're now lower and lower on that totem pole. They would be better off if they could drop down to 4A Division II, but then you're still getting put in Carthage's wheelhouse and such.
Okay. And it brings up a good question here. It looks like Columbus is still just doing what they want out here on offense.
Yep.
Do you think, I've heard rumors, they split basketball where they've got everybody in one district and they split at the end. Do you think they go back to that in all sports and split after the playoffs?
No.
No. Football. You think they keep the same football? Yes. You think? Okay. I've heard rumors that they want to do that and then keep your same district in all the sports and split after.
The only way they would split after if the travel and stuff becomes such a big thing, but I don't know any coach that would want to go back to where you don't know where you're going until possibly the last week of the season and all that kind of crap. And I know I didn't like it as a media. To me, the split's way better. I still contend, let's stop with the stupid divisions and let's just class them like they are and, add numbers instead of divisions. But yeah, the only way I think that would happen is if travel became such an issue. And it is an issue with when you split them early. Man, they're just making this look so easy as Columbus is on the move again.
Yeah, Rigdon, that was an easy first down pickup for Rigdon there.
But that's a great discussion point in the offseason, man, is, what do they do? Because especially with whether we like it or not, I think Texas is at least going to try to do vouchers. I think it'll fail, but they're going to try to do that. That's going to change a lot of things when it comes to football. Private school will, Texas is one of the few states where private school doesn't dominate. But we're going to get there if they start doing vouchers, because vouchers will become just another form of scholarships.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not real familiar with how the other states, I don't really follow it, of how they do things. Do they all play together as one deal in other states? Is it all one?
Almost every state does. Now, Louisiana does a thing where they have a weird name for it, but basically public schools that have closed enrollments are like regular high school football. And then you have the others, which are private schools, and then any magnet schools that can draw from all over the district, Mm-hmm. But yeah, most states, just the private schools play with the public schools.
Another easy pass completion down the field there, man.
The thing about Columbus, I've noticed, they celebrate when they score, but they're just going to work, man. They look so calm out there.
Yeah, it's just another day in the office for them, looks like to me.
Yeah, it looks like they're passing against Skeleton D. Malakoff's got to force a turnover. They need something to get a spark.
Yeah, they're kind of on their heels here.
And there we go. Oh, no, it was called. I thought we were about to have an interception.
There was a lot of black around that throw.
Wow.
What a throw. You had like 4 Malakoff defenders in the vicinity there.
Well, this is how good Columbus is. Malakoff isn't fooled by the fake. They try to do a naked bootleg with a dump off option. Malakoff plays it perfectly, but Schobel just throws it to the second level for an 8-yard gain.
I thought they were throwing it short to number 9 there, and he got blown up.
He might have been trying, and he just overthrew it.
He got blown up, and then it went over the top, and another receiver was there. That was impressive. I think it's Rigdon time here if I'm Columbus. Let's see. Yep.
Grant kind of called this. I mean, he picked that was going to be close, but when we were talking before we actually started recording the other night, he said, this is one of those that he goes, I just kind of feel like if Columbus comes out firing on all cylinders, that it might be just a little too much for Malakoff. And so far, that's exactly what we're seeing, as they're going to score another touchdown. So Columbus is now up 27-7, pending the extra point. This is just unbelievable.
Yeah, Malakoff's in a must score situation. They need to score before the half, very, very quickly. They need to.
I know Rigdon has been the news, and he has 2 touchdowns, and he's playing extremely well. But right now, for me, Matt Schobel is your player of the game.
Yeah,
Adam Schobel. I always want to call him Matt because of his dad. Adam Schobel.
You look at the stats. I mean, Rigdon's got 2 touchdowns. Schobel's got 1. Did he have a passing touchdown too? Oh, he got a rushing in. So he's got 2. So they each have 2 right now. 9 of 10 though, 192 and a touchdown on the ground and a touchdown through the air. That rating is pretty good over there. 284.3. I'm not sure how they do their ratings. I thought that only you could do 170 or something.
I have no clue. I use ratings for discussion, but I don't know anything about the formula.
I don't either, but I didn't know you could get one that high, but that's pretty good, I think. 284.3.
I know that the college one, and I guess I'm assuming since UIL, everything college does, Texas does. I know college has a tweak in theirs that's a little different than the NFL, and that's why college quarterbacks will have those crazy ratings, even if their stats are comparable to a pro quarterback, but it'll be like a 60-point swing on the rating. I've never understood the rating. I like the ratings, though, better than that stupid QBR stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Those numbers always kind of like, who came up with that, really? Like, is it just someone like, let's just make this equation up. Let's take this and this and let's put it together. I don't really know if it I just like looking at the numbers on the screen. And if you look at that, 9 of 10, 192 yards, a touchdown, and then you've got a touchdown on the ground. I can just look at that and tell you that's a pretty good game. I mean, he's almost perfect throwing the ball, and he's got a couple of touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty good. The only way I could see if Rigdon, if they start running the ball in the second half and Rigdon picks up a lot of yards,
Yeah,
maybe gets a couple of scores in. I mean, if it's close, I think it goes to Rigdon. No offense to Scoble, but maybe they want to give him that MVP again.
I was just about to say, I totally agree with you. I think the idea that he could win 4 in a row and all that. I think that Schobel would have actually benefited more if this game stayed close, where they needed him to keep throwing, and he ended up with a 20 of 22 for 350 yards. But they're gonna try to give it to Rigdon, and I don't have a problem with that. By the way, I just want to let you know that the passer rating was created by Dennis Smith and Bob Siwoff, two. Looks like they were just front office guys, and they got together. They created a commission of NFL executives, coaches, and statisticians, and created that formula that they use. QBR was created by ESPN about 10 years ago. They were trying to revalue like the fourth quarter, and I get the idea of that, but the problem is if you're a team and you're not getting in a lot of close games in the fourth quarter, you might be a great quarterback, but you would have a low QBR because you weren't having what they called impact plays. There's no perfect way to create a formula how to judge. I'm a traditionalist. I don't hate all the extra stats, but I'm still a traditionalist. Just give me yards, touchdowns, and passing percentage.
Whoop, Malakoff don't forget the ball there.
But Jaren Hall going to make a nice little return out of it out of nowhere. And let's remember this. I think now if we had the probability thing, it would probably be Columbus with a 95% chance to win this game. But Malakoff does have the ability to get back in this game.
Well, and don't forget that Malakoff could get 2 straight possessions here.
Yes.
So that's still huge. If they can go down and score here, and then able to not let Columbus score again this half and then start with a ball and score, we have a 28-21 game. It's right back. So them having that second half possession first is huge for them right now. They've got to put one up there right now. Oh, he tripped. The turf monster got him.
There's been a couple times that's happened to him. I maybe, you get nervous or not nervous, but it's a big game and you're running too hard. And it feels like that's happened a couple times. He had a nice run earlier, and he just kind of ran up the back of the offensive lineman.
That's a stat right there on the screen. 80 yards in drive 1 yard the rest of the time.
Oh, this time he actually got tripped up by his own guy. The back foot of the guard that was pulling out.
I mean, I think it's got to be Mike Jones' time. He's got to step up and wheel this drive down the field here. He needs to see if he can get something going here. And he takes it, but not a lot of room there.
No, just good tackling by Columbus. So it's going to be third down and 9.
He's got to get one of his receivers the ball here.
Well, I think that's the thing they need to do is, and they're kind of talking about it, Greg Tepper, at some point, Malakoff, kind of like Woodville at some point, you got to start throwing the ball. I mean, that might not be what you like to do, but I mean, the game dictates it, and they're going to try to pass here. And nobody open, and he's going to be sacked. So, I mean, even Mike Jones is just not playing well right now. And not because it's Mike Jones having a bad game. It's because Columbus is forcing it on defense. They've made all the adjustments after giving up that first touchdown drive.
Yeah, ever since that first drive, like I said a while ago, the yards, I mean, 80 yards on the first drive. And what's that yardage now, Terry?
What?
The yards for the game for Malakoff? I think it's down there on the screen. But they had 80 the first drive.
77. So they went backwards.
They're -4 or -3 yards there since. That's pretty impressive for Columbus.
Good punt. Going to be a fair call, but Columbus is still going to have good field position. And you talked about that. Malakoff had that chance to double dip. Well, now they're just trying to keep it to where it's just a 3-score game before they get the ball back to start the second half. Or heck, the way Columbus is scoring, they might get the ball here in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. They're going to need to make some adjustments. It'll be interesting to see what Coach Driscoll does at half. See what kind of adjustments are made here, because right now Columbus is getting whatever they want on offense. So they're gonna have to pick their poison. Maybe they bring some more pressure and just hope they can get to them, or force them to do something they don't want to do. I don't know what it is right now. They're going to have to take one of the two away and try to hope that they can get back in this game.
One thing I do want to point out, no matter what happens, Malakoff is one of those towns that shows you that eventually, if you just stick around long enough, eventually you're going to find that right combination. I mean, Malakoff was a laughing stock for a long, long time. Had a huge long streak of when they couldn't make the playoffs. I remember when I first started broadcasting, and I went to Crossroads for a baseball tournament. And Malakoff was part of that tournament and a couple other teams. And we were this was back when we didn't, I mean, we're talking 2003, man. This wasn't streamed. We recorded the game, audio only. And then I would have to drive it to Will's Point to upload it to the server because dial-up was so slow it would take forever. So it was quicker but I can remember just like Crossroads making fun of Malakoff football and all that and just talking crap. And it's not like Crossroads has the biggest football history either, but I mean, it just shows you, man, that you just keep eventually almost every school, unless you're Huntington, almost every school eventually finds that good era. And if you're a Malakoff fan, remember how bad it was and then just enjoy this, no matter if they win tonight or whatever, because Malakoff is in a good run and they should be good for a while. They have a lot of young talent. I know Mike Jones will be gone and all, but they've got a lot of young talent coming up the pike.
Yeah, and you look at this, they're showing the Columbus's, scoring 48, 48, 56, 62, 49. So it's not like this is a surprise. I mean, maybe a surprise because they're doing it to Malakoff, but I mean, they're putting up some numbers. I mean,
and their defensive numbers can be a little bit deceiving because, like Yoakum, they were blowing them, out of the water, and they kind of led up in the fourth. And Yoakum's good enough to score a couple quick touchdowns. Same thing with Franklin. I thought last week holding Edna to 6 was kind of that statement that they were wanting to make defensively, as Schobel just finding some space when nobody was open. He doesn't run as athletically as Mike Jones, but he runs smooth. Like it's a cliche, but he runs like a gazelle.
Yeah. I mean, he did a great job of navigating in his pocket. He kind of found it, played around inside there until he didn't have anything left. And then, found a hole and just kind of used the open space. I mean, it's smart run. I mean,
yep. Like I said, I think he legitimately is going. I think if injuries and all, and he develops, I think this is a kid that can end up playing in the NFL.
Yeah, he's got the build too. How tall is he? He's 6'3", 6'4". Yeah, he's got
a family that's been in the NFL, multiple uncles and dad, and so they know how to navigate through that. They know the roadblocks, and they can help navigate him through that. And I mean, that's one thing, this Schobel family, man. And it's not like Todd Marinovich famously, where it was too much pressure. They all love the game, but the Schobel family knows how to create football players.
Well, and you brought up the, college NFL thing. It reminded me. So what do you think about the new JUCO rule? Did you see that release?
Yep. Well, so to be fair, as of right now, that's just for the Vanderbilt quarterback. It's not everybody's been saying that, now all JUCO players, rigged on a big play right now on a 3rd and 1 is going to get a first down inside the 35. As of right now, it's just for the I can't think of the Vanderbilt quarterback. I think it eventually will be completely. I have no problem with that. JUCO is not NCAA. If you play in the JUCO, you should be able to have your 4 years of NCAA eligibility.
It's like a farm system for college for guys maybe that need that extra year.
I mean, that's what it's always been.
And if you're coming off an injury, you can go play, not risking anything, not losing any eligibility, and And of course, the transfer portal is anyway. You just transfer out and go wherever. So.
The one they're going to have a little toss right here for another near first down. I think the one thing they've got to figure out is the end of the season transfer window. That's the only thing that I think's wonky. It's like somebody said, it's like having the playoffs in the NFL start and then there'll be free agency the week of, and you can, immediately play. They've got to figure that part out, but everything else, I don't, the college players, no. They should make as much money as they can. If the market dictates it, they should make it. The fact that we live in a capitalist country, but for some reason we want our sports to be socialistic just blows my mind.
Well, and I think, honestly, that's what ruins it for me. Like, they shouldn't be able to leave until the end of the season's over. Like, it's dumb. We were all getting all these portal transfers. I think, was it Marshall that they couldn't go to a bowl game because they had so many players transferring.
Because their coach left for a different job.
Yeah, but I mean, you shouldn't be able to leave. I mean,
the coach shouldn't be able to leave. Then the coach should have to stay through the whole season too.
Yeah, I mean, he's an adult though. Their kids they signed the deal to finish. I know, but they signed it. They committed to that school. Like, I get it.
Too.
I know, but they should have to stay through the season.
Why should a player have to stay but a coach can leave? That doesn't make sense to me. That's never made sense to me. Well, I never understood why college players wasn't getting paid. I mean, like that these are guys I know now the NCAA, I never thought that this would be the game we get to talk sports because I thought it was going to be so close. Oh, we have almost a late hit. It will be fourth down though. So Malakoff actually makes a stop. Let's see what Columbus is going to do. I've never understood why college players didn't get paid. And I've never understood why people don't want college players to get paid. That makes no sense to me. These guys, technically now they can work a job, but they can't. You cannot work a job and also play football and work a full-time job. So why is it when I was a college student, I could work at Walmart, I could work at Target, I could work 2 jobs, I could work 4 jobs, and I got my school paid for because I was on scholarship. Why can't football players get that too? Or any athletes, not just football players.
I'm fine with them leaving. I just wish they'd make it at the end of the season.
No, and that's what I said. I said that's the one. Show we're going to go for it on 4th down and get the first down.
Of course, that was an easy get there. He could have probably cut it up and got more yards, but
he really could have. I think he kind of just throttled down and got out of bounds thinking about the clock. No, and that's what I said when we first started talking about it. I agree they need to adjust. You can't leave at the end of the season in the playoffs. But the reason why they have it like that now is because you have to, if you're going to play spring ball, you have to enroll in January. You have to be, so they need to figure that part out as Columbus is just scored another touchdown to make it 34-7. I'm not surprised Columbus is winning, and I'm not even surprised they're winning by a couple. Oh yeah, Rigdon's winning the MVP after that run.
Yeah, wow, man,
wow. I was just about to say I am shocked though at how they are utterly dominating Malakoff.
Yeah, this is very impressive. They're making a statement right here. They're like, this is our time.
But no, what the NCAA, well, not the NCAA because they're useless now. Look, here's what's going to happen in my opinion.
I think I know where you're going with this.
The SEC and the Big 12 are going to break off. Or Big 10, I mean. And they're going to form an NFL-like where like the Big 10's the AFC and the block's kicked. I mean, the block's kicked. The kick's blocked. Malakoff has life. But yeah, they're going to break off. They're going to form an NFL-like conference. And then everybody else is going to go back to bowls and things like that. And it'll be, when that finally happens, I think football will settle down. And it is a wild west out there with Neil and all, but you know what? That's because the NCAA kicked the can down the road for too long, and they finally got caught. That $1 billion enterprise wouldn't share just a little bit of their money, and this is what's cost it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've said that all along. I think it's going to be like the farm system for the NFL, right? You're going to have there'll be there's some shuffling going on right now. Right now, you say the SEC and Big Ten. I think there's some of those schools that are going to get the boot and may get some other ones in there. Like, I mean, if I'm looking at the schools right now, the SEC, I mean, Vanderbilt, they don't fit. I mean, there's some schools that don't fit. but I think it's going to settle down to that 30, 32 teams, and they're all going to play each other. So there won't be any more of this. Well, you didn't play. You played Norfolk State and Appalachia. Like, no, you're going to play the teams in this league, and then we're going to know how good you are, right? You're going to have a schedule, and it's going to rotate just like the NFL. And so that'll be your conference. It'll be, whatever they decide to call them or however they decide to do it. And so it'll be those, and then they'll have a certain amount of playoff teams. I think maybe it'll be a 16 or a 14, whatever it is. They'll have that playoff, and you'll be able to be judged a lot better because of the fact that it's, they're all going to be more on an equal playing field. It's going to be those schools that can pay the NIL, that can do some of that are more even. Then you'll have the next tier down. It'll be like the FCS, except it'll be the FBS will be there and the FCS. I guess different levels to it, and they'll have their own.
I don't know if they'll kick schools out. I think they'll go the exact NFL model and go 32 teams. I don't think they'll kick a lot of teams out because I don't think even the top teams are going to want everybody to be great. You're going to want some cannon fodder teams.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's better for everybody if the better teams are in, right? Because we're going to bring more money.
I mean, if you're the I mean, in the NFL, not every team's good, and it still brings in big money. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't think they're going to kick out a lot of teams. Well, first off, to kick them out, you're going to, especially for some of these teams that have been in these conferences for 100 years, you're going to go to court for that, and that's going to get really, really messy.
Well, they'll figure out a way to do it, I'm sure. It'll have to be they move to something else and just leave these teams behind. But I mean, do you want to see, let's say, trying to think of some teams that I don't want to see play. I mean, Washington's not good now. Washington and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, but Washington just played for a national championship.
They did, but their coach is gone. They're now trash. Like, they're not good. Like, or do you want to see a team like SMU that's up and coming, that's got money, and a Clemson, like that? They're always pretty good.
Okay, but I mean, you're Washington, SMU. Okay, so what about TCU? TCU just played a national championship game, and now they're bad. Why do we assume SMU is going to take the next step?
Because they've got money.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that their coach is going to stay.
It doesn't. But that when you have money, when you're buying players, I mean, it's just kind of like the Yankees. They're always pretty good because they can buy whoever they want, right? I mean, they're not going to win every year, but they're always competitive.
So the thing about SMU is SMU's going to have some big money donors. But the problem is like when they go up against Texas and stuff. Hang on, Mike Jones is going to be sacked again. 30 seconds left. The problem is SMU doesn't have the biggest alum class. So I mean, you're going to have to keep going to the same people, and that might be great. But like the way Texas and A&M and the big ones work is they're able to spread it out. Like this group is going to pay for this buyout, and then next time these guys are going to pay for this buyout. And SMU is going to have money, but that doesn't. I don't think that keeps their coach automatically because they still got to deal with the academic requirements at SMU, which are a little bit different. Now, what scares me about where college football is headed. And again, I'm all for players making a ton of money. I'm all for it. I think it should have always been that way. But now you're hearing like billionaires talking about colleges are willing to sell them their team, basically, where the billionaire will take like 49% stake in the team and fund it. But then they're also, I mean, then you're just talking about, okay, now we're just talking about a second professional football league. Like you said, more of a minor league for the NFL, which I'm not against, but then just completely detach them from college and let them just become city teams. Let them become like Shreveport have a team, that kind, Tyler have a team instead of the schools, University of Texas or A&M or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting where it goes. I mean, I am excited about the playoff, the formatting now. I mean, you're always going to have. I'm glad and I'm not anti-Alabama. I am glad they're not in, but I think as soon as they didn't get in, what was the first thing you heard about, Terry? Well, let's add 14. So I mean, they're already. It's like we have to include Alabama. If they didn't we need to include. I'm glad they didn't punish SMU for losing a championship game. It's a good precedence. I think if they would have done that, it would have been chaos. They'd have been like, well, why are we even going to a championship game? We were already in a spot. Now we have to go play an extra game and we lose, and now we're out. So I do like that, but it's going to be interesting to see how these home games. I think that's a cool factor in this.
I agree.
Getting a host. So I'm excited to see how it all shakes out. I do think they need to change up, and there's a lot of folks that are in this. They need to change up the seating. Like, you win your conference championship, that should guarantee you a spot, but not give you a top 4 seed.
See, I actually completely disagree with you. I think the mistake that they've made is that 5th seed that 5th one not being a 5th seed. I think if you win a conference, you should the top 5 spots should go to the top 5, the conference champions. I don't care the record. It's just like when you win the division in the NFL. If you win a division in the NFL, you can be 6-11, but if you win your division, you get in as a higher seed than a 11-6 team. I think that's the way it should be. The mistake was, and I love it, but Texas should not have an easier path to the national or at least the semifinal than, say, Oregon.
Yeah. Well, here's my reasoning behind not agreeing with this. So I'm a basketball guy, right?
Yeah.
March Madness, greatest tournament on earth to me. It's awesome. You win your conference championship, yes, you're locked in, but that doesn't give you a 1 seed. You can have, you don't see, these teams that win conference championships get the 1 seed on the bracketing. They seed them how they played and how their schedule and how they did during the season. And I think that rewarding them for getting in is fine, but guaranteeing them a top 4 spot when you've got teams that have had a great season or playing in a tough conference, punishing them for losing and playing that schedule that they can't help that they're playing. I don't like that.
How are they being punished? If they'd have won their conference, they'd have had the higher seed. They didn't win the conference, but they still get in the playoffs.
So you're telling me that Texas still over in the Big 12. They won the Big 12, then they would have probably been a top 4. Now they're a 5 because they had to play Georgia again, which is one of the better teams. That's the only thing I don't like it, because you've got teams like Boise State. No offense to Boise State. I think they're a good team, but there's no way they should have a first round bye and be in the top 4 seeding. I think they should be in. Absolutely. I like that. And I think it's going to get changed. I think they're going to change it where they're in automatically, and they change the way the seeding is. I think the seeding is going to go by how they're ranked, especially the way this happened with Texas. It benefits Texas here, but it's given them an easier path. And if you rank the teams where they're ranked, this doesn't happen, right? You're putting them where they ranked, and then if you're an 8, you're playing for sure a 1, right? Right now Texas is a 5, where they're getting a 12 seed that wasn't really in the top 12 teams. Then they're getting another team that was barely in. Like I think if they have them ranked correctly in the bracket, then this is never a problem, right?
But what's correct? Then you're gonna go back to where teams won't play good teams in their non-con because they don't want to risk losing their rank. If you give it to where, and again, I think the difference they make is that 5th seed or that 5th conference automatically becomes the 5th seed. I think that's the difference they make, because then you allow teams to continue to play tough schedules. If it's your ranking and not if you win the conference, well, then why would you play? Hell, Alabama's even already said that now. Like, why would we play these teams? Because it's going to hurt our ranking. I see what you mean in basketball. Basketball's different, though. There's 64 teams.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about, and you know this, in basketball, each bracket's its own tournament, and then they connect. I just feel like I think if you're going to go the NFL route, go the NFL route. If you win a conference, you're a higher seed. It'll all work itself out in the end on that. I just don't like the fact that the number 1 seed has a tougher path, and that has nothing to do with anybody else's. It's like, and again, it benefits Texas. Texas got the benefit of losing to 2 games to 1 team.
And so now you've got, I think Georgia has a tougher path to the semifinal than Texas, and they beat them twice. If I'm Georgia, I'm not happy with that. If I'm Ohio State, you know, I have a path now that I've got to play Oregon, you know, and then possibly Texas. That's a normal path. Someone like Indiana or Notre Dame, they get the chance that they might play a Boise State, which I think they're going to be a favorite there. Would be an easy path to the semifinal there.
I think Notre Dame would be a favorite. I don't think Indiana would.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it'd be that it's an easier path, I think, than if you're Ohio State sitting there. I mean, you'd rather be down there and playing the or even Tennessee. Tennessee goes lower and they get to play down there in the other game. I just think that also is an easier path. I think those are the two easier paths because I think Boise State is a good team. I don't know how well they deserve the number 3 spot, but I don't know. I think it makes it hard. You're always going to have these. If you put conference champions that are lower and you move them up in the top 4, it's going to make this bracket always uneven. Somebody's always going to have the easier path that shouldn't. If you rank them in order, then at least you're putting them the way that the committee thinks they're being ranked. Obviously, the committee, there's always going to be questions on who's ranked who should be there, but at least they're in order and they're in somewhat of a close proximity to where they should be. Because if you look at how it would have been ranked, it would have been Oregon, Georgia, was it Texas 3, and then who's the 4th?
I wouldn't put Texas 3. I'm a huge Texas fan.
I think that's where they finished, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't remember.
3rd. I think they were 3rd, and then Penn State was 4th.
I'm a huge Texas fan, but I know that defense is good enough to take them to a championship, and I know that run game can be, but overall, I feel like there's something off about this team. That's why that Clemson. I feel like if they win Clemson, then all bets are off. They could end up going all the way, but I don't know. There's just something about this Texas team. But I want to go back to one of the reasons I think that they've done it this way is if you do it by ranking only, then what's the point of the Boise State Conference even being a part of it? Because they'll always be ranked low and they'll always have to play the number 1 seed. And so you're never going to have a chance for one of they
would get a 5. They would play the 5 seed first.
Huh?
They would play the 5. Even if they're outside of the top 12, they would get the 5 seed first. So they wouldn't be playing the 1 seed the first round.
I'm talking this year, but I'm talking about consistently whoever wins that conference is usually going to be one of the lower seeds.
Yeah.
Because Alabama and Texas, all them, they'll just stop playing each other. So they'll just go back to beating cupcakes and looking pretty and winning 70-0 because they'll say, well, our conference is tough enough anyway, so we've got to survive our conference. And then, they'll always be in the top 4 and they can be like, screw it. Even if we lose, we're going to be ahead of Boise State. While Boise State or a Big 12 team, Arizona State this year, congratulations, Arizona State, man. They looked like they were dead after Herm Edwards and they came back to life. But a wacky conference like the Big 12, they'll never win a playoff game. And so what will be fun of that? But again, no, you and I think are on the same page. It doesn't matter. In 10 years, none of this is here anymore. The SEC and the Big Ten are over in the National Football Minor League, and then everybody else is over on the side. And then I think that's where football settles down and the Wild West and Neil stops. You'll just start seeing, I think over in one side, you're going to have colleges just play players. There won't be, they can get nil too, but colleges will sign players for money. And then over in the other side, the smaller ones, you'll have the traditional college with the bowls and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's when it'll be fun.
Yeah. The only thing is you will lose some rivalries like, that are cross conferences. You'll have some of them. That'll be the sad part to me. I think, you'll still keep some of them, obviously, if they're in that top tier.
Maybe you set up something where you do a legacy game or something. You could even maybe you do it like this.
Preseason? You do a preseason where
that's what I'm about to say. Like 1 week, and it's really funny because college is the only football that doesn't have a scrimmage / preseason. High school has it, pro has it, college, dude. That's why I've never understood why any college would play well, now not as much, but especially back in the day where one loss and you were done, would play a top 5 team in the, a top 5 team play a top 5 team in the first game of the year. It makes no sense to me. So yeah, do a preseason, one game where Oklahoma and Oklahoma State can play every year, and it counts for them, but it doesn't hurt either one of them, in their bracket. I think that would make the rivalry games even more fun.
Yeah, I like that idea. You've got to have something. I mean, you got Oregon now separated from Oregon State. Like you said, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, maybe a Texas and a Baylor, or a Texas TCU, depending on where SMU falls.
Really, with Texas, I mean, this is no disrespect, but A&M, OU, and Arkansas, maybe LSU eventually. And this is no disrespect to Tech or Baylor, because at times, especially like Baylor and TCU, the last 10 years controlled Texas. But for so long, I mean, Texas has never looked at those schools as anything other than that's somebody who gives us a hard time, but that's who we play. And I know that they felt that Texas is a rival, but even then, it's not. I don't think Texas Tech wishes to play Texas again, or Baylor like A&M and Texas do.
They probably don't. A&M didn't want to play us either, Terry. Remember that. They didn't want to play us either. I mean, they were forced to. They were forced to.
Nah, they did. Both sides wanted to play each other. This was like the rom-com where a couple gets divorced, but they never stop loving each other, but neither one of them want to admit it. That game should have never stopped. Look, right. And I actually feel bad for A&M on this path, because if they wouldn't have left when they left, they probably at least play for a national championship.
Yeah, well, and the thing is too, they didn't play Texas, and that was when Texas was actually a little bit down, right? I mean, Texas has kind of gone through. We see where they are now, but think back a few years ago when we were going through.
Oh yeah, it was 15 years of hell.
I mean, it was bad. I mean, ever since Colt got injured in that championship game, Texas was not the same team, and they could have got some wins there. I mean, because A&M with Johnny Manziel and that little run they had, they were a legit team, but they didn't take advantage of it. They didn't. Again, how many SEC championships did they make? 0. And so they didn't take advantage of all that momentum they had. And, everyone was like, Texas is not ready for the SEC, yada, yada. Well, they came in at the right time. And an NIL hit. It was perfect timing between Sark.
And the schedule. Let's be fair. The SEC, Texas got a very soft, and this is not their fault.
It's surprising that we got – and people will blame Texas, Terry, and it's like, well, y'all have a soft. Texas just took the schedule they were given, right? I mean, the SEC could have given them Georgia, Alabama, A&M, South Carolina. They could have loaded them up, but they gave them the schedule. So, I mean, it's not like Texas, chose a soft schedule. They just played who was in front of them.
No. So that's the funny thing you say that. That's one of the new rumor mills is, supposedly all we heard in the offseason, or 2 years ago when it was announced it was going to happen, all you heard was, well, Texas ain't going to come in and run the SEC. Yet now the rumor is, well, Texas came in and they demanded a soft schedule. And it's like, come on, folks. Yeah. Like, you can't. It can't be both sides, but Texas will get its, but I think this year also proved, I've been saying this for a long time now. The SEC has been very top heavy the last 8 years. It hasn't been the best conference in football. And one of the hypocritical things that as a Texas fan has annoyed me is, if Alabama struggled against Mississippi State 2 years ago, it was, well, that's because the SEC is that good. It's so good that even the bottom tier teams can give a top 5 team a challenge. And then now this year when Texas struggles against Mississippi State, it's, well, that's because Texas isn't that good and this is a weak team. And it's like, okay, which is it? You can't have it both ways, And so, but that's a lot of it. That's the fun part about being in the SEC. And I'm not a conference guy. I don't root for other teams in my conference. I never have. Now, there'll be times I root for special reasons. Like I was always a Barry Switzer fan, even though I was a Texas fan. I loved Barry Switzer and the Wishbone in the '80s. My mom's a big Aggie fan, so I don't really want, I want Texas to beat them, but I don't root against them in other games. And also, you get to know all these kids playing football, and you kind of root for them anyway. But I'm not a conference guy, so it still blows my mind that come playoff time, if Texas is in the SEC or in the national title game and they're playing Oregon, I know they can't play Oregon because it's semifinal, but you know what I mean. Somebody else, half the SEC will start rooting for Texas, and I'm like, why? Like that's just dumb to me.
I'm not rooting for Georgia. I'm just going to throw that out there. I hope they lose. I don't want to see them. I mean, I love to see them again to beat them, but I don't want to see them again. I'd rather see the easiest path possible that my Horns can win. I mean, I'm not like I want to play that. I don't care. I want to play who's in front of me and get that national championship, whoever it is, whatever. But I'm not going to root for a team that's given us problems 2 times in a season. So, I have a question for you. So, with all the tie break scenarios and all that, is it just me, or why can't we just division this up again?
I was really shocked.
A West and an East, and let's make that. I mean, the scheduling did with that was pretty. You play so many teams in your, at least you have some common opponents for some tiebreakers. When you're playing all different teams, it makes it really hard for tiebreaker scenarios. I don't understand why they don't just do that. I mean, I don't know. You had that before Texas and OU joined.
Well, but the whole knock before is that consistently the West was tougher than the East in the SEC.
Well, now you probably have to shift Alabama over, right, with Georgia.
Well, I mean, yeah, because you think about Oklahoma, Texas, A&M, Arkansas, and LSU. That's 5 right there, and then I guess you bring the 2 Mississippis over.
Yeah,
and then you have the other side. You've got Bama. But that's still. I mean, both of them are tougher, but still, then the East becomes a slog to go through.
Yeah.
The West, I don't know. I mean, Oklahoma is either about to right the ship, or they might be doing what Texas did from 2010 to 2022, where they just can't find footing. A&M, I feel like they've got a good hire, but with A&M, you just never know. Arkansas struggling. LSU's kind of up and down. I feel like Kelly might have one more year there, and if he don't turn it around, they might be making changes. So, I mean, still the West seems kind of easy.
Missouri would be West, right, too? Aren't they up higher, but aren't they?
Well, they've always been East in the old SEC. I don't know how it would be. Again, I don't think they're going to go back to. Well, again, they will go back to divisions because, again, in my opinion, you're going to have 32 teams, right. 16 on the, and you're going to have 4. It's going to look just like the NFL. I mean, it really is.
I just wish they'd have some kind of that way for the tiebreakers. We don't have they had a chance where it had like 4 or 5 teams with 2 losses. And then you really have no way to break the ties because they all play people different. It's a disaster for the conference.
Well, and I don't get having a conference title game if you don't have divisions.
Yeah.
Like that's weird to me. And I get why they have it extra money, but to me now with the playoffs,
they get that and they get the bye. Like you said, if there is a bye incentive, then they kind of have to have it. But unless you just have 2 teams that just dominate through and there's not a bunch of tiebreakers, they got real fortunate, honestly. There was some upsets that really, if they go the other way, there could have been a lot of tiebreak scenarios and a lot of different things that could have gone on. I mean, Georgia could not even, they would not even have been in if Alabama doesn't blow it there at the end. So, I mean, it's really strange. I think they need division somehow. I'm not sure how it would split, but they need something. And maybe they play an extra conference game or 2 or something that, I mean, those other games at the beginning are kind of a waste. We talked about it. I mean, it's little podunk teams. I'd rather just see them play in their conference, and just that way you have a little bit better idea of who's who. If now you can take a few losses and still get in, right? I mean, so it just would show how good your conference is.
And for me, though, I hate the SEC having that random 9th week. You're going to get out of the conference and go play another crappy team. If you're going to do that, just put it at the top. I want to switch over to the NFL because intern Noah and I always talk about this. I believe if I was the NFL, I would have it to where you don't play division games until like week 6, 7, or 8, and you play your schedule to where it's like the AFC. Like if you're at Dallas, you play all AFC teams to begin the year. However, I think they play 5 of them. Then you play all NFC teams that aren't the NFC East, except for one round, like around October, and then the last 4 games of the year, 3 games of the year, you're playing your division every year. It makes no sense to me that we'll be in the last week of the season and you'll have division matchups that will decide playoffs, and then an NFC team will be playing an AFC team. And it's like, okay, that kind of takes the air out of it. Wouldn't it be cool if the last 3 weeks were nothing but division games across the NFL? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah. I know some of the old school people wouldn't like this. I'd like to see them. Let's break up in regionals a little better. Let's have the Texans and the Cowboys in the same division. I would love to see that.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Houston, but I mean, you're talking about first off. I mean,
I'd love to get rid of the Eagles, Giants, and Redskins.
No. Oh God, I wouldn't. To me, that's. I mean, that's. I don't know. I mean,
I know.
New Orleans and Houston, Atlanta. I mean, yeah, in 10 years it would be, but no, man, you're talking. I mean, that's like breaking up the Yankees and the Red Sox.
But they're in the same area. That makes sense. What about the Steelers and the Eagles in the same division? Oh, what a
now they've always said that the NFL has always been very very consistent that if one town has 2 teams, they want them in different conferences, and if one state only has 2 teams, they try to keep them in different conferences because they want to pull from, you want to get both sides. I just disagree with that. I especially now in the 60s, that would have made more sense. But now with travel as easy as it is, and that's why I never understood. Like everybody's mad that the Pac-12, like Oregon and all of them are in the Big Ten. Well, it's not regional. Well, we're not in a regional world anymore. Like regions don't matter. I want Oregon playing Ohio State every year. I think that's friggin' awesome. So yeah, I do disagree with you. I like Dallas being connected with the Giants, the Eagles, and Washington. That's their rivalries. Everything else would just be. And again, in 10 years, I'd get used to it, but I prefer it like it is.
Yeah, and you got like the Saints that are close, and I don't know. I just feel like that if they're gonna do the like NFC East and we're in the South, it doesn't make any sense to me, like regionally. And even if they're gonna keep the Texans in the other conference, at least realign Dallas with some teams that are in the same area. If you're gonna have them play each other twice a year.
But I mean, there's just no. I mean, that would take years to lay down a foundation of a rivalry.
Oh, it'd be they'd pick it up. I'm sure. Like Saints and Cowboys is already a rivalry. Have you ever been to a Cowboys Saints game?
Saints have always been a team that even when Dallas was great and the Saints were bad, they tended to give Dallas a tough game. But I've never looked at the Saints as a rival.
Well, I mean, and you don't now that they're not. But I'm saying if they moved them in the conference, I don't think it would be a tough sell. Like me and my brother went to a Cowboys Saints game where it's been a long time. It was before the new stadium, so we went to Irving when you used to have to park across the way and walk and go over.
I went to a Saints Cowboy game in 1983. Oddly enough,
and so there was more hoodats than I've ever seen. Like we were all. And it was bad. Like the Cowboys were losing. It was, I mean, there was probably half the stadium was Saints fans. And I mean, you can't tell me that wouldn't be a big, I mean, I think it would grow, but I like them being close. I mean, another thing, you've got like the Rangers, you've got them in the West and all the teams are over in the West. I just like them being in the same.
Now with the Rangers, I don't like them in the West, but because they've never established a real rival with anybody in the West for a long period of time. You've had the moments in the late 90s, Texas and Seattle had a little bit. And then, of course, in the mid-2000s through 2015, the Rangers and the Angels kind of had a rivalry. In the 70s and 80s now, Texas and Oakland, and then Kansas City was back in there. People don't realize 77 or 78 Rangers, if there would have been a wild card, they were a team that could have got in and might have won a World Series. They were really, really good. They just were under Oakland and Kansas City. So in baseball, I agree with you. The Rangers, and Tom Hicks and them poo-pooed that. They wanted to bring them to the Central, and he wanted to have Houston. But okay, so Houston and Texas, outside of the playoff game, the playoff series, and that was awesome. The regular season, I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap about the silver boot. I don't count the victories. And now, the playoff game, that created a rivalry. That was awesome. But yeah, I'll disagree with you that on football. I don't ever want to see a day where Dallas isn't playing Philadelphia, New York, and Washington twice.
It's worked in baseball, though. I mean, like you said, it's a big rivalry now, and it may not have been what everybody wanted at the time, but I think that would have been a big rivalry if Houston was. I mean, the series. I mean, the series made the rivalry big for a moment, but like this year, the rivalry didn't go anywhere. Texas didn't play well. Houston started slow, won the division, but weren't really good. And I never was like, oh, I got to tune in and watch the Astros and Rangers. Yeah. But there's a lot of games too. I think that's
and that's true. And also, other than last year, that was the first time you really had Houston and Texas be good at the same time. Again, circumstances. That's why if they ever did regionally break up, eventually, whoever Texas or Dallas would be in the conference, it would be or division, it would become a rivalry. I'm just saying, it's tough enough that Washington and Dallas has lost some luster. That's why I love that Dallas beat them this year. It kind of added a little bit back, but man, I just don't ever want to see an NFL day where I'm not hating on the Eagles. I love to hate on the Eagles.
Well, that's funny because, KO is a big Eagles fan, so I have to hear about it all the time. And so it's very difficult.
I do want to say I really respect you working with a guy like KO who has the obvious mental issues that he does. And I really, really respect you was that a Make-A-Wish thing, for fly, eagle, fly tardation?
I don't know. And the funny thing is, we've got lots of you got Brandon Ogden. He's a big Steelers fan. We've got Corey is a big 49ers fan. So I've got to deal with a lot of different football fans right now. But
it sounds like to me you might need to clean staff and do better hiring.
It makes it fun. It would be fun for an NFL talk show. I mean, we have lots of different teams there. So.
I know I have a unique perspective because, as I said, my mom's an A&M fan and me and my dad are Texas fans. But my dad, and I'm getting this way too, my dad doesn't root against A&M unless they're playing Texas. In fact, he tends to root for them when they're not.
I want A&M to lose every game by 100 if they could.
I've never been that way, but here's why. My mom is also a dyed-in-the-wool Washington fan, and me and my dad are Dallas fans. I'm an empathetic person, so – yeah, I want Dallas to beat Washington, but I also, it's nice when my mom's happy when their team wins. And I don't really hate on teams. I don't hate Philadelphia. I don't hate the Aggies. I want my teams to beat them, but I don't, I give Brett Lee a hard time. He hates Longhorns like you hate the Aggies. I don't get that. If the Aggies aren't playing Texas, I actually want all my rivals to be unbeaten when my team plays them so that they beat them. That makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah, look, Brett says that your mom is a smart person, Terry.
Yeah, because she's an Aggie fan. I actually had a cousin go play this older cousin. My mom, really more my mom's cousin. I mean, my cousin too, but he went and played for A&M or was going to play for A&M, and it was a pretty big deal apparently. And he slapped or punched Gene Stallings and got kicked off the team.
Well, we've got a third quarter starting up here.
Oh, yeah, a football game.
Yeah, Mike Jones with a nice run there. He's close to that first down. It's one of the better runs they've had in a while.
Dude, I never thought you and I would be able to just talk all this with Malakoff and Columbus. I want to say this. I mean, yeah, Malakoff is in theory playing bad because they're down 34-7, but it's not like they're just, turning the ball over and 100 penalties. Columbus is just beating them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to take. I mean, obviously the game still has a lot of time left, and not over by any means, but it's going to take a perfect half by Malakoff and probably some mistakes made by Columbus here in this one to get them back in.
I don't even know. I mean, and this is crazy because Malakoff can score in groups at times, but I don't even know if this offense is explosive enough to score enough, because you're basically talking about you're going to need at least 2 big touchdowns or turnovers.
Man, that was a nice stiff arm.
As I say that, here's a big play.
God.
Hey, you're ahead of me now, I think.
Goodness, did you see that stiff arm?
Yep.
Ooh,
Jerry and Hall on that.
Now
that's a big play. That helped. But my point is they've got to get chunks. They can't have 10 play, 90-yard, 10-minute drives. They're going to have a 65-yard touchdown, a special teams touchdown, a couple of turnovers by Columbus.
Maybe a pick 6 or something.
Yeah, a pick 6 or a strip and a scoop and score. But you also have to wonder if they cut it to 14, then you start getting a little nervous if you're Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing
good block right there.
I mean, if this was to happen, it would be one of the greatest comebacks that I've ever seen. Just the way the game is going right now, just as Columbus was just pretty much did whatever they wanted the first half, minus make the extra point at the end.
Now watch them lose 35-34. You bring up a good point, though. It's not just being up 34-7, but it's how they do it. I remember when the Texans a few years ago got up real big on Kansas City in the playoffs, but watching the game, it never felt like they really were in control.
Uh-oh.
It was, you're ahead of me.
Oh, that's a tough hit. Mike Jones got hit hard there. They may look at that.
Malakoff's getting chunk plays.
They may look at this one, Terry.
What?
That was a head-to-head contact there.
Oh, was it? Again, you're ahead of me, so I'm just seeing him now get up.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, he kind of got sandwiched. There was a hit from the DB, and then he got sandwiched.
Yeah, I don't think there's any targeting or anything right there. I think he just got crunched. But again, though, big chunk play. Now Mike Jones gonna have to come off the field for at least a play, but he's not gonna be gone long, most likely.
No, he's
Uh-oh. Hey, wasn't that the score when what's his name came in? Frank Reich? Wasn't it 35-7?
Well, it's 34-7 here.
You know what I mean. So here we go. Is Malakoff about to Frank Reich Columbus here?
Let's see if Mike Jones comes back in. I would guess he's probably going to come back in.
Boy, Columbus hits, man. Even when they give up plays like that long run, they hit. My dad asked what happened to the shootout. Well, Columbus came to play. Jerry and People said enjoying the show. Jaron with NETSN.
That's my man Jaron. He's one of our broadcasters. We stole him from K Gas. He's
K Gas.
Yeah. But yeah, he's his brother works for Carthage ISD, so he'll be there. I think he's going to be on the sideline tomorrow for that one with
Mike Jones. So now, if this game is a blowout, does that mean one of the ones that we thought weren't going to be? Does La Vega keep it close to Carthage?
This is, if you were to tell me 34-7, this might have been La Vega Carthage, not this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You never know.
I think La Vega has enough offense to make it interesting. I just don't think they can be consistent against that Carthage defense, and I don't think La Vega can stop Carthage.
Oh my, what a blitz. Oh, he got away. Oh, for a minute at least. Whew. Goodness. They've been giving Mike Jones problems. He's gonna be sleeping tonight, and he's gonna have Columbus Cardinals coming after him in his dreams.
Well, and that shows you, no matter what we talk about quarterbacks, if you're not giving them time, the best quarterback in the world can look like a fifth grader who's never played the game again. I mean, Mike Jones has had no help.
No, it was a perfectly timed blitz up the middle.
Oh, and they've just been shooting that A gap all game long. And Malakoff will adjust here and there. Like they've hit a couple outside with Tennyson and Hall because they've caught them in that blitz. But give Columbus's defensive coordinator credit. He's like, I don't care. I'm just going to keep doing it because you're not going to stop it every time. And here they come from the outside now. Oh my gosh. Yep. I mean, this is 1985 Bears at this point. just every snap. It's like watching that 85 game when Dallas, thought it was going to be a good game, and Chicago comes in and destroys them 44-0. That's what this is looking like.
They're just bringing the house every play, and Malakoff's not either. They're not blocking. They're going to have to make some adjustments, like throw some quick screen plays or some quick passes to the receiver to kind of counter that. I mean, you can't just continue to let them just tee off on your quarterback. You got to make some adjustments.
Patrick Devitt in our Patreon chat on Discord. By the way, join our Patreon, folks. It's only $3 a month. Well, I didn't mean to do that off. I meant to hit this as we got a big play for Columbus going to be out of bounds. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/L4 Media Company. $3 a month for some great behind the scene content that we're going to be doing here in 2025. And you get to join our Discord chat where we're always talking crap and making fun of each other and all that kind of fun stuff.
A lot of fun in there. He's saying that he hopes Mike Jones survives. I agree.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I was just thinking this. I had texted Brady Carney, head coach of Munster, this morning, congratulating him on the win. I said, boy, I bet your son, he's going to. I can't wait now. I love your reaction because I can see what's about to happen. Oh, my God, what a move.
Man.
So will Rigdon, when you look at it, man, this will be a fun off-season show. We should have a roundtable series about greatest Texas high school football players because, you're going to get the Kenneth Hall and all that. But, man, Kyler Murray and Rigdon, to me, are 1A and 1B, and I don't even know. You give Kyler Murray playing quarterback at the highest classification, but then Rigdon's done it now this dude's going to go 4 for 4 in state championships with 3 different teams.
That's insane. Oh, I'm trying not to give it away too much on you.
Oh man, almost a touchdown. The last 2 passes from Schobel he's had touchdowns and just missed.
That was so close, just fingertips. Actually, the receiver could have caught that. Now the replay, he had a chance at it. It was a little bit closer than what I thought live. I mean, it'd been a tough.
Yeah, it almost felt like if he wouldn't have left his feet, I think if he'd have ran through that, I think he would have caught it. But now it's 2nd down and 10. But, man, first off, I'm ecstatic if this holds. I said this earlier. I love the first-time winners, Ganado winning their first state championship. And I'd love for Columbus to finally get to ring that bell, especially for my friend Jeremy, who played on the team with the Schobels and everything, and they fell just short. And here they're finally getting their chance. And, boy, they are showing out. Yeah, and as Brett Lee points out, only 1 loss in Rigdon's career. Now, did Kyler Murray finished unbeaten, right? Didn't he go unbeaten in high school?
There was 3 out of 3 when he 3.
But I mean, like totally unbeaten. Did he ever lose a high school game?
I don't think so.
I can't remember.
I went back when he was in school. I actually went to a few state events with my father-in-law when I first got married to my wife, and they were there at that. Was one of the years that they were there, and that guy in the high school level, man, he was just something different. I mean, obviously he's in the NFL now, but I mean, that guy was just so calm. He just he did his business. He'd get in the pocket, he'd throw from the pocket. If he got rushed, he'd scramble away and throw it, and he could tuck it and run it. I mean, it was just he did no wrong, really. I mean, at the high school level, and you said it, the top classification as well. Does Allen ever? Do you think they ever split into more than one school?
I mean, I don't want to say ever because they've gotten so big. But to be fair, Allen is also kind of landlocked now. So Brett Lee said Murray went 42-0. I thought he didn't have a loss. By the way, when Murray was there, Grant Goodwin would work Allen radio at times. We were working, in fact, they still broadcast the game, but we were working for oldcoach.com, and they're the ones that broadcast the Allen game. And so every once in a while, Grant would work the sideline for him. Just an interesting note. I'll say never. They like the one school system. It works for them. It works for South Lake Carroll too.
Oh, did he get it? Oh. It's close. They're gonna.
I don't know. Schobel's still making a case to be player of the game, but I think they're going to give it to Rigdon.
I was going to say he should have dove for it if he wanted the touchdown because they're going to give this to Rigdon. He's about to cash in on this. It was awful close though. We'll see where they're looking at it a couple times here. Ball. Oh, it was close. They're not going to review it. Doesn't look like, but.
That's one rule I would change. We were talking about certain things.
I think they gave him the 2-yard line. I thought it was a lot closer than that.
The one thing I would change, I think I would make it where the ball has to completely cross the goal line.
And there it is.
Yep.
I think that's locking it, Terry. I think we've locked in the MVP to this game on that score right there.
4 touchdowns, 16 carries, 107 yards versus Adam Schobel going 11 of 15 for 210 yards and 1 touchdown and also running for a touchdown. Be funny if they gave it to one of the receivers. I mean, it wouldn't be like they didn't deserve it, but that'd be funny if that's what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. Jaron's saying that Rigdon has lost 1 game in 4 years.
Yeah, he lost to Hitchcock this year.
Yeah.
That was the first time he lost all year long.
And that was the one you said earlier they went for 2 and didn't get it, right?
Yeah, they completed a 4th and I can't remember if it was 20 or 30, but completed a 4th and 30 and then went for it for 2 and they had gotten the 2-point or I can't remember if it was a 2-point or touchdown earlier and they ran the same play and Hitchcock just was able to they saw it and jumped it and knocked it down. It was such a weird swing of emotions for them to be celebrating this Hail Mary basically and then to turn around and lose it on the extra point. But I mean, they couldn't go for. I mean, they were dude. Those 2 teams. I mean, I'll make the case that Hitchcock won the game, but Columbus won the war because Hitchcock was so beaten up after that game.
Jaron also makes a good point in our NetSN chat, Terry. Columbus's offensive line, 3 sophomores and a freshman.
So that's the thing we were talking about before. That's not how they started. Malakoff is beat up now. Columbus was beat up earlier, a lot of it from that Hitchcock game, but it happens long enough into this, with enough season left. These kids who are talented but didn't have the snaps, they're now experienced.
And that's going to be dangerous later.
Mm-hmm. And they've got another Schobel going to be a quarterback. I can't remember his name. I mean, Columbus isn't going anywhere. I mean, they have now and I don't think, I don't want to say that he'll never leave. I doubt he'll leave. So, I mean, I think Schobel's happy. I mean, that's where his family's from. That's where he was born and raised, and maybe, a big 6A come, but it's not like he needs money. I mean, the family money, the NFL money. So I think he could be laying a foundation where Columbus is a team that's just a region threat at worst year in and year out.
Okay, so you're talking about staying and being satisfied. East Texas school, biggest job in East Texas opening. Do you have any thoughts on who you think might go for that?
Which one?
The Lufkin job. I mean, that job hasn't been open in a long time.
Yeah, but it's not. It's lost some of its luster too, though.
But it's still one of the bigger jobs in East Texas. I mean, as far as
I don't disagree. No, I don't disagree. I don't know. I don't know if I think Lufkin is one of those schools. I think they'll probably look to Houston or somewhere like that. I don't see anybody unless like Scott Surratt said, "Hey, I want the job." I think Lufkin listens there, of course, but I don't know if I think and I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but I kind of feel like Lufkin will probably look to Houston or Dallas or something like that. Because I don't really, John King ain't leaving Longview. I don't think Scott Surratt's leaving. I don't really know anybody else in East Texas that I think would be up for it. Maybe the Texas high coach, but I don't think he would leave to go to Lufkin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lufkin's in a weird spot. I hate to say this, they don't even feel like East Texas as far as football anymore. Like they don't feel East Texas anymore.
The district they're in, they're playing all these teams in Galveston and Houston area now.
Same thing with Longview and Longview and Legacy are basically like we were joking earlier about Matt Diggs, but you can make the case that they're more DFW now than they are East Texas as far as the sport, not the actual city, of course.
See this Patrick's comment there in the chat, Terry. 30 touchdowns in just state title games. Wow. that is ridiculous.
I mean, that is averaging what, 6.5 touchdowns a game. Now, again, six-man is it skews. I mean, we say, oh well, 6-man, excuse it. The dude's got 4 touchdowns right here.
Yeah, he could get 6 in this one. We're not up. We still got a whole quarter left. And the way that Malakoff's had trouble moving the ball, I mean, Columbus may have 2 or 3 more possessions.
I wonder, do you keep him in and try to get him as many stats, or do you?
I do. Why not?
You just, running up the score. You also want your younger guys to get some snaps.
If you're just handing the ball off and they can't tackle you, is that really running the score up? I mean,
that's a good point.
I mean, it's like here. It's just like, someone just allows you to go score a layup. You don't just in basketball, you if they can't play defense on you, if you run your offense and you get a layup, I mean, that's what we used to say, layups and free throws all the time. Oh, there goes Mike Jones. Okay, Mike Jones.
Well, that's a nice run.
He just has not had much help tonight.
Oh, going back to you're talking about him beat up. So I was talking to Brady Carney about his son, and Kaysen had a wonderful game for Munster, and I made the joke about he's going to need ice baths, and he's like, yeah, he's he's basically purple and walking stiff. And I was thinking, imagine if he'd have lost that game, how much that would hurt.
Yeah, it hurts a little less when you win. And he's still a junior too, so they're going to have a chance to. Both. They talk about Shiner and Munster, mate. They could play again next year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying that on the broadcast last night. I would be very shocked if those two teams aren't playing again next year. Not only do they return a lot, but a lot of the teams around them that could pose problems. Now, Collinsville is going to be really, really good. They return a bunch of their guys. They are young, but I don't think that they're going to anything that tells me now. And again, injuries and, apathy. Some guys, they win that state championship, they don't have that competitive drive anymore. But unless something like that happens, it's Munster and Shiner. I'm getting the late night. When I get tired, I start getting the hiccups. We got 3 more games to do tomorrow. 2 of them will be high school. Intern Noe will be in the studio for the second one, and then me and him are going to hang out and flip over to the Outdrank the coverage and watch Indiana Notre Dame. I think that's going to be a surprisingly good game.
It's interesting, in-state rivalry game. I
love that they did that.
Yeah.
I want committees to manipulate it like that. That's fun.
Okay, so we talked about the system a while ago. It would force Notre Dame to have to join something. Do you think if that happens, do they get left out of it, or are they going to be able to get in there somehow? Terry, what do you think?
What do you mean? Like,
well, right now, Notre Dame, they can get high as 5, right? They can't. They're not in the conference. They're not in the conference championship. At some point, they fit the Big Ten. It's kind of regionally wise. I know you're talking about regionally, but
I agree. They fit the Big Ten perfectly.
Do you think Notre Dame at some point has to jump in before it's too late and they get left out?
Well, again, with our scenario that you and I agree with, they would have to. They would have to move to the Big Ten to be, and I think that's what would. If the Big Ten and the SEC break off and form a super league, Notre Dame is going with them. They're going to want Notre Dame to go with them. They would be stupid if they didn't want Notre Dame to go with them. My dad asked, "Are we back to the usual blowouts the rest of the games?" No, I think Carthage La Vega will be. I will be very shocked if Salina and Kilgore is. Now going on to the games that I don't cover, but 5A, I think 5A and 6A are all pretty evenly balanced. I mean, this is just, look, this is a blowout, but like we said earlier, this isn't Malakoff playing bad. This is Columbus just being that good right now.
Yeah, Malakoff they moved up front there.
I mean, it's not like Malakoff's turned the ball over 7 or 8 times or anything like that.
No. I mean, I'm looking at it, and I think DFW has a pretty good chance of sweeping the top 5A, 6A games.
That Westlake Crowley game, that just man,
I know.
Westlake's like the worst team you want to play. I mean, I know Dodge isn't there anymore, but dude, they just man, I hate that. But they beat Duncanville. I think North Crowley can win, but no, I agree. I think DFW is on the swing up now, and it's cyclical. 2 years ago it was all Houston. Now it's all DFW. That's the fun part of it.
Ooh, I don't know if that counts. Did he get his foot in?
Oh, that's gonna be close. I just saw it. I don't know.
I think they gave it to him. That's one where you give him the catch and then
you review it. Yeah.
Did he have the ball? No, it's not going to count. He didn't catch it originally there, Terry.
Yep.
Kind of bobbled it, and that first drag didn't count. So that was 4th down. So that'll go back to Columbus. Yeah, they're gonna overturn that one, I'm pretty sure. And I like this as far as if you have somebody up there looking at it and then they see that it's close or they need to change it and they just do it. I like that.
I like how the NFL has went to more of these quick review like you said, like, hey, no, that's just you don't even need to go look, it's incomplete, or you don't even need to go look, it's a catch.
Why do we need to have the referee go look at it when you can have somebody up there looking?
Well, because I don't know, if you remember when they first did instant replay in 1987, that's how it went. It was up in the booth and there were a ton of mistakes.
But remember, in 1987 I was 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm now in my 40s. I mean, times change. I think.
No. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's the reason. That's the whole reason.
Why is he looking at it? We're wasting time here. You could have had somebody already up in the booth. Like, I know he didn't take that long, but he had to walk over to the monitor to tell.
Well, my thing is why are you having him look in a viewfinder when, if you're going to make him do it, give him a 60-inch TV.
How about just let him look up at the big
scoreboard,
a million-inch Jerry's World TV up there. I mean, that's a good enough screen. If you can't see that, then you just have a problem with your eyes.
Speaking of, everybody's making a big brouhaha about the sun and the curtains, and there should be curtains. But I want to remind everybody that there was a big brouhaha about the scoreboard and how, oh my God, there'll never be a punt that'll work because it's going to hit the scoreboard 100 times. And I think the scoreboard's been hit like 6 times in the 15 years that it's been open. So the sun thing, I think, gets overrated, and it's not that big of a deal. I just brought that up because they were talking about that earlier because the sun was pretty bad at that 3:00 game.
So did you see the Baylor game where they put the picture of AT&T Stadium up?
Yes, that was friggin' awesome, and they missed it.
And he missed the field goal.
That was brilliant.
That was great.
Jeremy Hargrove, I know you're dancing in the streets right now as he says, how about that Cardinals defense? And you're right.
Man.
We've been talking about the offense, rightfully so, but at the end of the day, this game is won because the defense for Columbus, after that first drive, adjusted and just absolutely have dominated Malakoff's offense. And that's, I didn't think I would say that, but legitimately dominated Malakoff's offense.
No, I mean, we've kind of touched on it. I mean, their pressure is giving Jones problems. You got it. He's 6 of 10 here with 28 yards passing. And then only 59 yards on the ground. I mean, that's decent, but you look at their total yards. I mean, you've got barely 150 yards for the game.
I'll put it this way: if Mike Jones would have 100 yards on the ground, if it wasn't for the sacks, he's been sacked 6 times and has lost 50 yards.
Ooh,
think about that. He is averaging 4.2 yards a carry and has 59 yards with a 50-yard loss on his back.
Ouch.
Jeremy's bending the elbow after work. Hey, Jeremy, join us on Outdrank the Coverage live stream of the Indiana Notre Dame and watch me and Noe bend our elbow a few times. And then we got the L4 Christmas party Saturday night. We're going to be bending the elbow. Man, I'm going to be sick on Sunday. I can already tell.
Man, they're still throwing the ball here. Are you surprised?
Nah, not with that coaching staff. I'm not surprised at all.
Oh, block below the knees. Chop block.
against the defense.
That's weird. That doesn't happen a whole lot.
Yeah, that's a new emphasis that they've been doing.
Oh, yeah, he's going for the knees of the
Yep.
lineman there. He almost did that old move where you kneel under somebody and they just kind of go over you, except he did it the forwards way.
And I think that's fair. You know, a lot of the offensive line, coaches and offensive coaches are saying and by the way, I believe that they need to do a better job with offensive players' face masks and with offensive players putting their head down.
I don't think you should, because there's a lot of times where they stiff arm their face mask.
Yep.
Like that shouldn't, if you can't grab their face mask to tackle, the offensive players shouldn't be able to push your face mask away or turn your head with it either. I agree with you there. Which I'm surprised they haven't changed that with all the safety things that they're doing.
Well, they did. They said they were going to emphasize that a few years ago, and then they just immediately stopped. Wow, Schobel's going deep now. They're just getting nasty. Oh, incomplete.
That was a good throw though. He was good defense there by Malakoff.
And to be fair, there is usually a standard rule by most coaches that it's all fair till the end of the third. So we'll see what they do here in the fourth quarter. But Columbus now 12 minutes away from their first state championship in the history of the football program as they lead defending state champ Malakoff 31-7. And we talked about it, Canadian finally won, or Canadian beat Franklin, and then Franklin finally won a state championship. And then last year, Malakoff took that from Franklin, and then this year, Columbus is taking it from Malakoff. 3A Division I has become just a fun division of. There's powers, but they're kind of cycling through and giving each team's winning a state championship. And that's the great thing about 4A this year. We've got completely new state champions no matter what. I think that's awesome.
And we got some new matchups in the upper classifications. I know you have the South Oak Cliff there, but there you got Richmond Randall across, a new opponent. You got, Highland Park's always been good, but I don't know when the last time they were this far in the playoffs.
About 7 years ago, I think, 6 years ago.
I mean, South Lake Carroll's is a perennial power. Vandergrift's a new school, but it's been a while. Riley Dodge trying to
win his first,
come back to his alma mater and win a championship. You got two teams that we didn't think we thought we were going to have a Duncanville North Shore again at about the 7th or 8th time they've faced, it seems like. But you got two new schools there, so you've got some new. I mean, Westlake's been there, but this is a new game, so there's some newer matchups in this playoff run. I kind of watched they had a little tracker of who was returning and who was going to defend, and it looks like Gunther and South Oak Cliff is the only ones that can repeat, right? Is that correct now?
Oh, that's right. The kid for Richmond was the Needville quarterback last year when Needville took Kilgore to the mat there in that playoff game. Of course, their quarterback got hurt, and I think that kind of there for a while. But it is funny though. You talk about it like again 4A new state champ, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's Carthage perennial versus La Vega perennial and Kilgore perennial versus Salina perennial. So it's new blood, but it's old blood. Well, Kilgore is weird. Again, we talked about this on the show. It blows my mind when you think about Kilgore, and they've only won one state championship, and that was, 18, 19 years ago, 20 years ago.
Well, and the last time they were in state, I went that year. I think that was, they played Carthage that year.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Carthage won that year, but, I mean, it's been that long, right? They've won that one state championship, and it's been a long time. But they're always there. But I'm just kind of. It's a good year for new teams. Like you do have some that have been there, but it's new teams for this year. As far as they're not going to have a bunch of people repeating, a bunch of times. I like the new blood. I'm with you. I like to have the new teams in, and shout out to Gunther. They were so impressive today. I mean, that they got after it from me seeing how good Woodville has been playing. And the both defensives played well. Gunther I think they were more balanced on offense, and Woodville could not do anything through the air, and when they should have. They shut the run down and weren't able to adjust. So, I mean, that was what was impressive to me, because when you've seen a team like I saw Ganado, I knew it was going to take a tough team to beat them.
Yeah.
And you see a Woodville team, like, man, for 3A Division II, they've got some dudes. Like, when you're in those 3A, 2A levels, if you got some dudes that you don't see on that level, it makes a difference.
I don't know, man. It just felt like it felt like that. There used to be an old adage about deep East Texas teams, and in Southeast Texas, if you pop them in the mouth, they don't want to play. And there was a little bit of that with Woodville on the offensive side. That offense, it looked like they had 3 plays, and if those 3 plays didn't work, then they didn't know what else to do. And Isaiah Stanback, who, by the way, pretty good job broadcasting. I was confused. Him and Ted Emmerich on that one pass play that was an obvious reception. The guy caught it, ran 2 steps, got tackled. I thought they were actually looking to see if it was a fumble.
I did too, because it was a fumble. But the problem was, Terry, and I think what happened, nobody recovered it.
Yeah,
right?
wasn't a clear recovery.
So
Yeah,
nobody recovered it, so it was a catch, but they couldn't give. And that's one of those where you tell your players to play through and whatever. I think it was a fumble, but the turf recovered the fumble. Nobody picked it up. I always thought it was a catch.
I did too. And they were saying, oh, that's an incomplete pass. And I'm like, how is that incomplete? But anyway, other than that, Isaiah did a really good job. And he kept saying, look, I don't understand. I know he's a sophomore, but this is a guy that's getting D1 looks. Gunner's daring you to throw, and they're not even trying to throw until it was way too late.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of it, I've seen them play a few times. They were basically able to run those plays at will at their opponent.
Yeah.
And Babin didn't have to throw a whole lot. I just thought maybe it was that they just didn't need it, but maybe they just didn't have those plays in the playbook. The other ones were working all year, and you get to the state game and those don't work. Well, you got to find something. And they never found that rhythm on offense. The play calling the rhythm wasn't right. They needed to mix some passing in there to open up some holes up front, because Gunner just teed off. They just loaded the box and said, okay.
I think I said this to you when you jumped in. I'll admit this. And again, this is not a personal attack, and I don't mean the guy as a person. I was very underwhelmed by Babin at quarterback. And I know he's a sophomore, but to be hearing all this, like he's the next Adam Schobel and he's the next, he's getting, 7 D1 schools are looking at him. I just was expecting a lot more, just pure arm talent. I'm not talking about reads and all that. He's a sophomore. That's the growth. I just mean his pure arm. That just didn't look like a guy that has a D1 arm.
Uh-oh, got an injury here.
Oh, that's Rigdon.
He's holding his knee.
Oh no.
That's
oh no.
They're about to replay it here. And we got it bent up underneath the defender. Oh
my gosh. I hope that his foot got out at the last second, so I hope the whole weight wasn't on him, but I mean, it doesn't matter for this game, but
yeah, you hate to see that.
I don't think it got the full weight, so hopefully he just old school wrenched it. Yeah, they got him up pretty quick. So I mean, they didn't do the stability. Now they could do the stability test on the sideline, but usually they'll do it on the field as well. And hopefully the way he's walking, they're helping him. You don't want to see that, especially this late in the season, because he's going to college and you want him to be 100% healthy when he gets to college.
Yeah. If you're Wyoming right now, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'll say this. I will admit, I doubted how good he could be. I knew he would be good, and I knew that he would probably, because I picked Columbus to win state at the beginning of the year. I knew that he would be help. I didn't realize he'd be this dominant. I will admit that.
Now Malakoff put some pressure on him.
Okay, now if you're Columbus, you need to start getting your starters out. I mean, you're, and I know you want to score a bunch and all that, but there's no point getting guys who are about to go play college ball hurt right before they go in a 41-7. That's the more tragic thing. And I'm not knocking him for keeping him in there, but the more tragic thing is if he does have a knee injury, it happened when they were up 30 something points, you know?
Yeah. Well, and you hate for that to be the way he goes off on his state, you know, how well he's done in this stadium here. I mean, they're still throwing the ball. Like, I mean,
they're just playing it like it's a normal game.
I guess so. Going out of bounds.
I've always, look, I've always thought that kind of like running up score. I don't think that's a thing. You're playing the game. Play the game. This idea, we have a weird society when it comes to sports, because the same people that scream everybody gets a trophy and that's stupid will then scream you're classless because you ran the score up. Well, it's a game. You're supposed to score. If you can't stop them, oh well. And by the way, it doesn't physically or mentally scar the kids. If you've played the sport long enough, well, unless you're Rigdon, I guess. If you've played the sport long enough, most of us have gotten their butts whooped at some time. I mean, like I remember for me playing Little League Baseball, and one of our teams was so bad we went like 0-15. Didn't win a game.
Well, you have to learn to lose. I mean, it's part of the game.
You have to learn to lose. And it's okay to get your butt kicked. And 9 times out of the 10, we're all laughing about it when you get your butt kicked. I mean, it sucks, but it's kind of funny.
Ooh, passing yards there on the screen. That's an eye-opener.
Yeah, and I know Malakoff never, they're not a throw it for 300, but I'm just absolutely mind blown that Malakoff hasn't been able to at least score more than 7. Schobel looking to pass.
There it is.
And it's another touchdown. Schobel making a case.
Yeah. I don't know. He still only has 3 touchdowns. It would really shock me if they don't give this to Rigdon. I
think Rigdon gets it.
I'm just blown away of not the way Columbus has played, but on offense, but the way that their defense has shut down this Malakoff team. I mean, 47-7. I mean, if it had been 47-35 or something like that, then that would have been of course, we both thought 38-35. I mean, we had the total points close.
I was about to say the same thing. And again, the thing to me that, and I know a Malakoff coach or a Malakoff fan will say, yeah, but look at all these blown, assignments. But Malakoff, it's not like Malakoff has 5 turnovers or that, like they spit the bit. It just feels, I mean, honestly, if they play this game 10 times, Columbus wins this game 10 times. There is no doubt about this one. Columbus is by far the best team in 3A Division I this year.
Yeah, that region, you talked about it a little bit. That region was really tough down there in Region 3.
But it softened up a little this year. Lorena moved up. China Spring moved up, as we talked about earlier. Franklin was still good, but they were a tick. And Franklin fans, if you're listening or watching, don't get mad. They get mad at me when I say this. They were just not quite as good as they were last year. I never understood why that's a bad thing. You played for a state championship last year. Little River Academy lost their stud running back. He went to Temple. Cameron Yo never developed. Hitchcock, Columbus, Franklin. It was tough, and I'll throw in Westwood just because they could score. It was tough, but it wasn't as tough as it was the last couple years where Columbus couldn't quite break through. And sometimes that's how that works. You need help, to win. Sometimes you need other teams to not be quite as good.
Yeah,
Jackie Carson, that's a name from the past.
Yeah, I think and there's no way that the Westwood scandal and all that stuff didn't affect those kids in some way. I feel bad. It was a weird situation. And I honestly don't think that they did anything on purpose. I honestly think that it was just they didn't think anything of it. And because the dude, you listen. Did you watch the hearing?
No, I didn't. I just read the
this guy, I mean, I'm a tech person, so he's a tech person. That guy, I'm not an average tech guy. Like, I'm a sports.
No, you're
guy.
not. No, you're not.
And so this guy was the techiest nerd. He had no idea what he was filming. He was going with the coach and thinking of it because he's not a sports guy. I mean, I can get it. He's sending something to. I mean, if you film up and down with a phone, it's going to grab. It's a pet peeve of mine for us doing the streaming. If you do something with a phone, it's going to get the sideline every time because you're up and down. It's going to get the sky, so you only get a third of the picture that you're trying to get. Like, somebody sees him sitting next to the coach. I understand all that. I feel bad because I don't know the coach, and maybe he did do it on purpose, but I don't think so. I think they did the right thing by letting them keep the wins and letting the team, but that affects the kids. I think for a time, maybe you play for the coach, but then you don't know how much he's affecting the game calling and things on the field. So I just felt really bad because that Westwood team was special this year with what they had. I know they probably wouldn't have got. They still lost to Columbus, which nothing to be. But they got in the second round. So I mean, they played a better game, I think, than Malakoff did. I don't think they lost by this many points. If not, it was close to that. But I mean, that I just kind of felt bad for that whole situation, and I feel like that we talked about technology. Can we just get the helmets with the stuff inside of it where the coach can talk directly to the quarterback up until a certain time? That doesn't seem like should be that far off. Then we don't have to worry about any of the sideline scandal, cheating stuff, people filming people. I mean, we can get rid of that by just doing some of that stuff. I'm a proponent of it just because, like me, I'm like, hey, come watch me. Figure out what I'm doing. I'm smart enough, coach. I'm gonna change things up or whatever.
Again, though, the problem is unless the UIL or the state of Texas gives a grant, you're going to have some schools that just will not be able to afford that. And you can talk about how cheap it is, but I'm talking about schools that can barely afford their own uniforms. Yeah. And so then what's going to happen? You get that's always been the little dirty secret. There's a reason why certain football programs are really, really good, yet they're not always the most athletic. It's because they've got the money to have the camps and the train and all. And so I love the idea, but you're going to have to give grants and blanket money as Malakoff now with a big run. It's 48-7. It doesn't really matter. Look, suspend the dude for a couple games. I don't even agree with suspending him for the whole season because, oh my God, stealing signs, that's gamesmanship.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think the district showed their hand, though, when they tried to freaking make them forfeit all of the games and all the games going forward. That, to me, is when they lost the narrative. And I really wish the UIL would have been a little bit more like, hey, this is stupid. And by the way, I don't know how you would do this. My philosophy was always, I don't like coaches in a district hearing punishment for coaches in a district.
Yeah, that's not fair to me. Like, okay, if you're a good team, we all want you out so we can make the playoffs and get a higher seed. So, I mean, that's not, there's no, I guess it's all like kind of biased to me. Why won't you get maybe another district or there's maybe a committee?
That's what I've always said is I believe you should have, and I know it would be hard to do because again, But again, with technology, you can have hearings over Zoom and things like that. I believe they should be blind cases. Like you just get it's a random thing, and so every district has a committee. But instead of judging themselves, they're judging other districts. But you don't know the district. You're not told the town. You're told player A is accused of this, and then you make a judge. And you can't tell me, Wascom had this situation right before they got good. They got kicked out of couldn't make the playoffs because of an ineligible player. And it was real shady on if he was even ineligible. And also, I believe, I don't like this idea of if a guy that's ineligible plays 2 plays, even if he's a special teams guy and the score is 60-0, you forfeit the game. That doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah.
I mean, it should matter.
How much did he really affect the game?
Exactly. Does he affect the game or not? But And that's the way it is. You never, and I will say this. It sounds like I'm not griping at the UIL. For people that bitch about the UIL, go to another state and see how it is.
Yeah, and they got it. They at least got it right where the kids weren't punished, right? At least they did that. And they didn't like do anything super crazy. The coach, he couldn't coach this year. He didn't lose his, license or
he didn't get to lose a show cause or anything like that, and he'll be back. I'm assuming Westwood will still want him. I feel like everybody was pretty much thinking, okay, this is a little overblown, and that's like people talk about the extra playoff, and I love this. Well, the UIL wants extra playoff because of money. Like, do y'all really think that a 5-5 team playing a 10-0 team is really packing in the stands and making a lot of money? And for those people that think it's the UIL, it's not the UIL. It's the coaches that want 4 playoff teams. Because how do you save your job if you're going 6-4 every year or 5-5?
Playoffs.
Make the playoffs. That's how you do it.
Well, and you have some districts. In some districts, the 4 teams are all going to be good, right? I mean, there's some districts over here. You've got the Kilgore, Chapel Hill, Henderson didn't make the playoffs. They probably could have won a couple of playoff games if they were in another district in that region.
Oh, I think 100%.
You've got
100%.
You've got the Timpson, Garrison, Shelbyville, Joaquin. Look at what Joaquin did at 4 seed. You got the Salina district. They were a solid district. It's Sulphur Springs and Panther Creek and Salina and
even Paris.
Yeah. And so there's some districts, but then you have those that are out, no offense to the out west guys, but I mean, some of those are like 4-team districts, like everybody makes it. And so there's some of those that are kind of wonky, but unfortunately you kind of have to make it the same for everybody. And I like the 4 teams because you've got teams that were back in the 90s and stuff that they might have could have made a run, but only 2 teams made it, right? I mean, 2 teams in and you're that 3rd team out, you might have been able to go 2 or 3 rounds deep.
Well, that's like, hey, maybe this is because it's, personal to me, but 1987, Marshall's unbeaten, goes in and loses to Longview and Tyler Lee and misses the playoffs, finishes 8-2 and misses the playoffs. That was supposedly one of the districts that they pointed to because it was like 2 years later, they added that 3rd playoff team. I think 4 playoff teams is perfect. There's never a perfect system. I think the UIL president or I think it's Dr. Harrison, he was saying it best when they were talking about, why are you splitting all the other sports now? A lot of people feel that waters it down. And he made the point. He said, look, Texas has the issue of geography, and there's nothing Texas can do about that. You're never, unless you started going back to what they used to do and what they kind of still do in California, where you only have regional champions and it stops at the region, you're never going to have a perfect system.
So there's divided in several different ones, right? South and North and Central.
Yeah, California. Yeah, and I think they finally went to an overall like a state tournament. But yeah, the state's big, folks, and he pointed it out. As big as Texas is, and as many people that now, and here's the other thing: people say, "Well, let's go back to 2." You can't. There's too many schools in Texas now. The percentage of who makes the playoffs at 4 teams now is almost the exact same percentage of who made the playoffs back in the 70s with 2 teams because there's so many more schools now. And also, even with that watered down, Texas still gives less state championships than other states that are smaller than Texas. And I still wish they wouldn't do divisions. I wish you would just call it, 9A, 8A. But they've always said they didn't want to do that. Now, eventually, we probably will get a 7A. It'll be kind of like what we talk about the SEC and the Big 12 or Big 10. It'll be a super conference. But that's going to be the schools that can afford to travel.
Do you think that's in the next realignment? Is it that, or you think it's another one away?
It feels like it's another one away. Texas is exploding population-wise, so there's going to be plenty of 7A schools. But it still feels like it's probably one more cycle away. But you know what? We all thought that when they went 4, and they went 4 a year early. We all thought, or a cycle early. You knew the division was going to split eventually, but we thought it was going to be, and that kind of came out of nowhere when they created the 6A. You remember, everybody thought 6A was one more cycle, and then boom. And by the way, like again, using my hometown, Marshall is now 5A Division II. They're getting closer and closer to 4A than they are to 5A Division I, but Marshall isn't shrinking. There's still basically the same amount of students there. When I went there back in the 90s, it's that everybody else is getting bigger. And so people don't understand that. It's not that towns are necessarily shrinking. I mean, some are, but some of it's just, schools are opening at 6A numbers. Yeah. Look at Eagle Mountain. They're a 4A team, but they're already at 6A numbers right now. They're going to play it as a 4A team next year with 6A numbers.
That's crazy. That's I wonder though too. Do we think we get rid of the split the way it is in 6A at some point too, and it goes to and they split pre-district?
That'll be really. Eventually, yes, but I don't think we're there yet because again, the one negative for the splitting divisions is it does cause some long districts. You look out, in West Texas. Now, of course, West Texas have always Malakoff scores. West Texas has always had some wonky districts, but especially now, the one negative on the splits before is. It creates some stretches. And so if you do that with 6A, you're really going to create some stretches because it's all centered in San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, and Houston. But then you've got the outliers like Legacy and then Longview bouncing back and forth, Lufkin bouncing back and forth. So I still think that's a ways away. Or not a ways, but a couple cycles away. It's going to get interesting, though, man. Texas is blowing up population-wise. But then that voucher... and I don't think I think they will attempt to do vouchers. I think once it happens, it's gonna not do well because I don't think people that support vouchers don't understand that at least with the current idea, the voucher is not going to pay 100% of the school. It's going to pay about 50%. So all that's going to do is give discounts to people who are already going to private school. You're not going to get like Arizona has seen that. They went to vouchers and they're like, yeah, we're not really. It's not really exploded. But if it were to, well, then populations would start to slide down in UIL because more people would go to public or to private schools.
And then isn't that what's going to take away money from districts that are losing a lot of kids to the private school?
Yes. Well, supposedly they claim it won't, but yeah, it really will. But I don't think, again, I think they will try it, but I just don't think it'll take hold because for the rural schools, you're not going to get options. If you're, if you're living in like Jefferson, yeah, you could have options. Longview's down the road, but you're not going to get bused there. And that's like in Arizona. That's the thing they're finding out is a lot of people are like, yeah, I would love to, but private schools don't offer free transportation, and I can't put my kid in an Uber across town. But especially out in West Texas, like you were talking about, some of those small towns, they would have no options for a private school. Rigdon looks like he's perfectly fine, by the way.
He's smiling. Again, he's just about to win his fourth state championship in 4 years, so it's probably going to be smiling no matter how much he's hurting right now. But
I bet Wyoming's going to call down and be like, hey, why don't you go ahead and get a MRI next week just to be safe there, buddy?
Yeah, let's check it out.
So Columbus is going to get their first state championship. Jeremy Hargrove says Coach X and Grant are forgiven because they were never full believers like Terry was. Yep, I actually called it last year too, but I specifically felt this year that it was one of those, if Columbus doesn't win it with this team, I don't know when they'll win it.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Like I said, and kudos to Malakoff, 31 games.
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
In a row. Coach Driscoll and that group. I hate that it went this way for them just because of the success they've had for the last 2 years. But hats off to them. When you're that guy, you get everybody's best shot every week, right? Everyone wants to break the streak. So you take all these shots throughout the year, and I'd heard that they were banged up and injuries were kind of starting to stack. So, for them to battle and get back to the state championship. That was an impressive run for them, and they've got something going. They'll lose their general there, Mike Jones, but I expect Malakoff to bounce back and to continue to compete as long as Coach Driscoll. He's got a good program going there right now.
Well, and how long has he been there now?
I can't remember exactly.
You got to wonder if this is a stepping off point for him.
I mean, is there a job out there that
he's been there since 2000? Sorry, I was looking it up. He's been there since 2009.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, double dipping is what I'm talking about. That's why these coaches, Todd Dodge retires and then goes back. It's not just, he's got the itch to coach again. It's you double dip so you can get retirement and get salary. It's why, who was it? I can't remember the coach. Was it the Cuero coach who went to Port Lavaca or somewhere like that? Oh no, New Caney or somewhere weird. But it was because the way they do retirement, the way they do retirement's based off of what your last couple, years are, and it kicked his salary way up. Same, So I just wonder if it's one of those. By the way, I like how UIL is allowing coaches that have so many years experience, you can pay them just a stipend for them to coach. They don't have to teach and all that. I think that's really smart, especially right now, because again, football fans, y'all need to understand, as big as football is in Texas, Texas has just as bad of a coaching issue as they do referees. There are not. This isn't like it was 10 years ago where coaches can't find jobs. You go to the coaching school, and there's a coach job board, and there used to be resumes all across it, and coaches just begging to be hired. Now, schools are begging to find coaches because people just aren't getting into education. And I was in it for a little bit. I don't blame them. I got out because I was like, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And that was just I dipped my toe in it. For educationers, for teachers and education and coaches, it's really tough right now.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you got state testing regulations and all these things they have to follow. Yes on those, but I mean just how people treat them. Yeah. Look, education will always be a thankless job. Anything that's civil service will always be a thankless job, because as much as everybody supports the blue and backs the blue and loves their teachers, until you say, okay, well, let's do a penny tax raise so we can pay them. Oh, no, we don't need to do that. They don't work but half the year and all that BS. And now it still blows my mind that there are people in the state of Texas that believe teachers in East Texas and West Texas are indoctrinating students in their liberal, evil ways. I mean, it's just like, Jesus Christ. I mean, this is a teacher that grew up in a 300 population town. Where do you think that they're getting any different views than they always have? But that's you're in education. That's the reality. Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
Looks like Malakoff is going to get at least one more snap here on offense. They turned him over on downs here.
Yes, sir.
See what Jones can finish with here.
10 seconds left. Can they make it? By the way, if they scored, they would almost match Westwood. Columbus beat Westwood 48-29.
Yeah. And that's going to do it.
And that is going to do it. Brett, I appreciate you sitting in with me today. Man, this would have really been by myself. I will be back tomorrow for, of course, Carthage, La Vega, and Salina versus Kilgore. It's going to be fun seeing East Texas versus DFW and East Texas versus Waco.
I might be able to jump on for a few minutes. The first game, maybe for a few minutes at lunch, and then I'll get off at 2:30 or 3 tomorrow, so I may be able to join you for a little bit of that Salina Kilgore game.
You and intern Noe we'll run a 3-man booth.
Okay, intern Noe's going to be here. All right, good.
Yeah, he's going to be in studio. We're going to watch the Salina Kilgore game together, and then we're going to watch Indiana and Notre Dame.
That's another game. I'm excited to see that in-state game. That was a strategic move. That's a money-making move there.
Oh yeah, and
you the ticket prices for that one.
Like 700 for the cheapest. Poor SMU and Penn State, which Penn State will still sell it out, but those tickets have been pretty cheap as well. By the way, I think SMU might pull that upset off.
Yeah, I mean they have a very good chance. They're playing some good football, and they kind of gave Clemson a little bit of they didn't play well that whole game and ended up coming back and almost winning it. But I think they got a chance. I mean, I don't know how good Penn State is. I mean, I don't know. They haven't really played. That's another thing with that Big Ten. You got the unbalanced schedule up there too, and
yep.
I don't know how good they are. We'll see, I guess. That's why they play the playoff now. We get to see. Get to play it off on the field.
All right. Well, congratulations, Columbus. Congratulations, Jeremy Hargrove. Dude, I know how that feels. You're going to be on cloud 9 for the next 2 months as Columbus wins their first state championship. To everybody that's tuned in, we still got 2,600 people viewing. Y'all go to bed. It's late. Thank you, Brett.
We got that many people listening to us ramble about random stuff.
Yeah, we literally have been talking.
Thanks for tuning in.
We were just about to break down religion and everything, folks. Y'all should have stayed. Anyway, until tomorrow, I'm Terry Bennett. That's NETSN Brett, and this has been High School Football on L4.